Chapter 36-34. Jiang Yingyao was nervous and fearful, so was Jian Luo. Smelling the man's sweat and his breath when he spoke, Jian Luo could not help but think of the things she tried to forget. Those men were on top of her, and her ears were filled with rampant and disgusting laughter. That was a nightmarish memory. Her back was pressed tightly against a man's body, causing Jian Luo to tremble uncontrollably, and her face was extremely pale. He was so frightened that he stood there in a daze, like a dead duck that was about to be strangled by someone. Jian Luo's gaze fell on Jiang Yingyao. At that time, such an unbearable thing happened in front of Jiang Yingyao. It really made people want to die. This criminal did not know what crime he had committed, and was especially afraid of being caught by the police. Ning Shu was tempting the criminal, saying that he would give the criminal money or hire a lawyer. If he was really wronged, if he really killed someone, then the crime would be confirmed. As Jian Luo's fiancé, he definitely couldn't just stand by the side and do nothing or say anything. The criminal looked at Ning Shu and was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to ask something, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Ning Shu rushed over and grabbed the criminal's wrist. With a twist of his hand, he kicked the criminal's stomach. The criminal could not control his body and fell to the ground. Jian Luo would definitely be saved, so he might as well do it himself. When he confessed, Jian Luo would be in more pain. Did she hate him because of love? No, she did not even love him, so how could she hate him? Jian Luo sat softly on the ground. Jiang Yingyao rushed over and asked about Jian Luo's situation with concern. He took out a handkerchief and wiped the blood on Jian Luo's neck. Jian Luo's tears flowed down, and she threw herself into Jiang Yingyao's arms and cried. Jiang Yingyao patted Jian Luo's back gently and comforted her. It's okay, it's okay. Jian Luo cried for a while before she realized something. She quickly pushed out of Jiang Yingyao's arms and said gratefully, "Thank you, police uncle." Jian Luo tried to use this to cover up the situation just now. Ning Shu reached out and helped Jian Luo up from the ground and asked, "Are you okay?" Jian Luo said, "I'm fine." Jiang Yingyao called the emergency number and said to Ning Shu and Jian Luo, "His neck is injured. Go to the hospital and have a look. I'll see you when I'm done." Ning Shu immediately refused. "No need. You guys go ahead. Don't delay." Walking to the door, Jian Luo looked back and saw Jiang Yingyao looking at her, his eyes filled with sorrow. Jian Luo's heart ached. She hurriedly turned around and followed Ning Shu into the ambulance. When they arrived at the hospital, the doctor disinfected Jian Luo's wound. It was not a big deal. Jian Luo touched the gauze on her neck. Thinking of Ning Shu rushing up to save her, she could not help but say, "But it was so dangerous. Why did you rush up?" Ning Shu just said, "We have to give it a try, but the gangster is so agitated that he might hurt you." Jian Luo was a little touched, but that was all. Being moved was passive, but being moved was active. Loving is different from being loved. Ning Shu said to Jian Luo, "Since you're injured, don't work for the time being. You're also frightened." Ning Shu hesitated and asked, "Do you want to ask Dr. Steve to come and see you?" Steve was Jian Luo's psychiatrist. He had been counseling Jian Luo all these years. Jian Luo was now like a normal person, but she could not leave the counseling. Jian Luo had encountered such a thing in the past. When the client met Jian Luo was cold, like a living dead, and closed her heart. Although Jian Luo was often autistic and looked constipated, she was much better than before. It could be seen that the client had spent a lot of effort on Jian Luo over the years. He had accompanied Jian Luo through the most painful moment of her life. Jian Luo's face was very pale. She shook her head. "No, I'm fine." Since she said no, Ning Shu would not ask Dr. Steve to come. The salary of this kind of psychiatrist was expensive. He had spent a lot of money on Jian Luo. In addition to counseling, he had also trained Jian Luo. He had used money and connections to train Jian Luo into a designer. Jian Luo was finally like a normal person. She had emotions like a normal person. In the end, Jiang Yingyao did nothing and went to pick the peaches. "Oh shit." Ning Shu looked at Jian Luo and said, "I see that you're very close to Jiang Yingyao. Are you just friends?" Jian Luo bit her lips and said, I have a story with her. Jian Luo was not called Jian Luo in the past. Jian Luo was a name later. So Jiang Yingyao felt that Jian Luo was very similar to his first love, but the name was different. Jian Luo had not met Jiang Yingyao yet. She did not want to hurt Fei Wen. Secondly, she did not know what entanglements would happen after they met. Jian Luo was forced to reopen her scars and tell him everything that had happened. In the past, when the client knew that Jian Luo had been raped, he did not ask the details to avoid causing Jian Luo's inner pain. Especially at that time, Jian Luo was simply a walking corpse. Ning Shu said, "So Jiang Yingyao is your first love?" Jian Luo carefully looked at Ning Shu. "I did not meet him. He does not know me." Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't think so. He seems to have fallen in love with you again. How do you want to deal with this?" Jian Luo denied Ning Shu's words. "It's not like that. He just feels guilty and treats me as the original me." Ning Shu stared at Jian Luo. "You have feelings for him too." Jian Luo awkwardly avoided Ning Shu's eyes. Then her eyes became firm. "I just want to live a peaceful life with you. You are my choice." Ning Shu smiled. "Okay, let's bring forward the wedding half a month. The sudden appearance of a love rival makes me feel very urgent. I have to marry you quickly." Jian Luo touched her neck and looked at Ning Shu reproachfully. "How can I get married like this? I can't get married with a scar on my neck. It will be fine in half a month. And there is concealer. It's not a big deal." Jian Luo's expression looked more relaxed. "It's a lot easier to say it out loud. I feel very uneasy hiding it from you." Ning Shu just smiled. She had no qualms about dealing with the person who entrusted her with the task. Perhaps the client was too tolerant. Ning Shu and the two arrived at the entrance of the hospital. Fortunately, they met Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao asked Jian Luo, "Is the wound serious?" Jian Luo first looked at Ning Shu and then said to Jiang Yingyao, "It's okay. It's just a scratch." Chapter 36-35. Jiang Yingyao looked at Jian Luo as if he wanted to say something. Ning Shu almost rolled his eyes. In a way, Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo were quite similar. They looked constipated and couldn't say anything even if they wanted to. Probably people who hid and suppressed their feelings were all like this. It was very painful to hide one's inner feelings and make a choice against one's heart. Jiang Yingyao still opened his mouth and said to Jian Luo, "Can I talk to you?" Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu. She had just told her fiancé about her relationship with Jiang Yingyao, and now Jiang Yingyao wanted to talk to him alone. What should she do? Seeing the pleading look in Jiang Yingyao's eyes, Jian Luo didn't know what to do. Ning Shu said generously, "Go ahead." Jian Luo nodded and followed Jiang Yingyao to the side. She didn't deliberately avoid Ning Shu, but Ning Shu couldn't hear what they were talking about. Jian Luo asked, "What do you want to tell me?" Jiang Yingyao looked at Jian Luo's face carefully. "I'm sorry to have implicated you this time. You know, you really look like someone very much. I've always thought of you as her." Jiang Yingyao said sadly, "I don't know if you'd like to hear a story." Jian Luo knew what Jiang Yingyao was going to say, but she didn't want to hear it. She said, "This is between you and her. You don't have to tell me. I don't think she will hate you." Jiang Yingyao shook his head. "You don't understand. You don't understand at all. I can't forget her, but when I see you I'm sorry for her. I swore to squeeze her in my heart for the rest of my life. But I don't know when, her face when she was young gradually blurred in my mind and was replaced by your face. I keep telling myself that you are not her, you are not her." But he couldn't control himself. Jiang Yingyao glanced at the man over there. He was a handsome and tall man, and his identity was not simple. She would definitely be happy if she was with him. And he was a person with scars and scars in his heart. He was not qualified. He was sorry to the person in his memory, and also sorry to the person in front of him. Jiang Yingyao apologized. "I'm sorry to have caused you trouble. Such things still happened. In the end, it still happened." Jian Luo couldn't tell what she was feeling. It was 70% pain and 30% indescribable joy. It was a joy that suddenly rose from her heart. Jian Luo understood that Jiang Yingyao had fallen in love with her. This joy was probably because Jiang Yingyao had fallen in love with her without knowing her identity. She probably really liked him. He didn't know her identity, which was very contradictory. He liked her because there was a shadow of the past on her. But because of this shadow, Jiang Yingyao fell in love with her. This feeling was really strange and subtle. Jian Luo sighed and said, "She must want you to live well and not indulge in the past. I look like the one in your heart. You will think of her when you see me. It will bring back your painful memories. Let's not meet again." Jiang Yingyao shook his head. "It's not a painful memory. She's the best in my heart." Jian Luo chuckled. "You're saying that she's beautiful in front of me. What should I think if I hear that?" Jian Luo wanted to ask, "Do you like her, or me?" But this kind of words shouldn't be said. With their relationship, she couldn't say such things. Jian Luo said, "I'm going to get married. He's a very good person. I hope you can find your own happiness." Jiang Yingyao was stunned. His throat was slowly filled with bitterness. It was so bitter that his tongue was numb. After a while, he said with trembling lips, Then I wish you happiness." Jian Luo's heart suddenly hurt. She forced a smile and said, "Thank you. When the time comes, come to the wedding." Jian Luo couldn't say such words. Both of them were suppressing the pain in their hearts. They looked at each other with eyes full of affection. But because of reality, Jian Luo's eyes turned red. She was afraid that Jiang Yingyao would see it, so she turned and left. She returned to Ning Shu's side. Ning Shu deliberately asked, "What happened to your eyes?" He asked while knowing the answer. Jian Luo said, "It's nothing. It's just a flying insect that hit my eyes." "Oh," Ning Shu replied. She bumped into two eyes. He opened the door for Jian Luo. Jian Luo sat in the car. The car slowly drove past Jiang Yingyao, as if it was in slow motion. Jian Luo turned to look out of the window. She looked at Jiang Yingyao, who was like a sculpture. Her heart hurt so much that her breathing was a little messy. She turned her head. She couldn't bear to look, but she couldn't help but look in the rearview mirror. Jiang Yingyao was motionless. He had been in that position all the time. He seemed to have recovered and suddenly chased after the car. But how could a person's two legs compare to a car with four wheels? The car entered the traffic and directly left Jiang Yingyao behind. Ning Shu glanced at the rearview mirror and curled the corner of his mouth. His expression was normal. But Jian Luo's tears couldn't be controlled. They flowed down at once. She hurriedly wiped them. Ning Shu handed the handkerchief to Jian Luo. "Although I don't know what you two talked about, I believe you. Although you have good memories before, there are also painful memories. These painful memories are between you two. It's better not to meet again in the future. We're going to get married. Then we have to clean up the past and start a new life. That's why I tolerated you two talking alone today. Promise me that we won't meet again in the future." People had a rebellious mentality. The more they were not allowed to do something, the more they wanted to do it. Ning Shu's current attitude was tyrannical, which made Jian Luo feel pressured. At the same time, there was an undetectable dissatisfaction in her heart. After returning from the hospital, Ning Shu began to busy himself with the wedding. Ning Shu was busy with the invitations and gifts. Jian Luo was not in the mood. She didn't feel happy from the beginning to the end. It was as if this was Ning Shu's wedding. Jian Luo's face was full of melancholy. She didn't look like someone who was going to get married. If someone had a face, they would feel that they shouldn't get married and stop the wedding preparations. But Ning Shu seemed to be a person who didn't know how to look. Not only did he not stop the wedding, but he also reported the progress to Jian Luo from time to time. For example, the invitations had been written and the people he planned to invite. There was also the brand of the wedding candy gift box, which made Jian Luo even more worried. Ning Shu also liked to talk about these things at the dinner table. Ning Shu talked with great enthusiasm. His face was full of anticipation for the wedding. This made Jian Luo feel like she was sitting on pins and needles. She couldn't eat. Every day, facing Jian Luo's face, she couldn't eat. Ning Shu also deliberately talked about it during the meal so that she couldn't eat. Chapter 36-36. Come on, let's hurt each other. As the wedding approached, Jian Luo became more and more absent-minded and out of sorts. Her heart was filled with worries. Once a person worried too much, they would easily become haggard. If her appetite was not good, she would look even more haggard. Contrary to Jian Luo, Ning Shu was in high spirits. She was in high spirits. Ning Shu wanted to let the whole world know that he was getting married. He sent invitations to all the employees in the company, even to Jiang Yingyao. As for Jiang Yingyao's expression when he received the invitation, Ning Shu did not care at all. In short, for this wedding, as long as they knew the client, they knew that he was getting married and they all congratulated him. There were also some close friends who asked Ning Shu if she really wanted to marry Jian Luo. Jian Luo looked like she had a lot on her mind. No one knew what was on her mind. Looking at her expression, it was as if the sky was going to fall in the next second. Was he really happy living with such a woman? Ning Shu smiled like a fool. He was happy, very happy. His friends shook their heads and looked at Ning Shu as if he was a fool. In short, Ning Shu looked very smug and told everyone. If he could not get married, the bride would be with someone else. He would be the pitiful person who was abandoned, the weak party. Even if the two of them were together, they would have to bear the strange gazes of others. Those who knew Fei Wen basically knew Jian Luo. Jian Luo's life had been smooth all these years. The client's connections had also helped a lot. Moreover, the Jiang family was also part of the upper class. Everyone saw each other frequently. Although Jiang Yingyao was now a civil servant, he was still a member of the Jiang family. Jiang Yingyao was doing very well because of the Jiang family. He was not short of money. When he was free, he would treat his subordinates to delicious food and give them small gifts. Ning Shu wanted to make it known to everyone, and Jian Luo had no way to back down. The more she delayed, the more troublesome it would be. But if she really got married, she would probably be unwilling. But did Ning Shu do anything wrong? No, they had been together all these years. They were also engaged. Marriage was a matter of course. The client did not betray Jian Luo, cheat on her, or have any other bad habits. Wasn't it good for Jian Luo? Of course. Therefore, it was Jian Luo's fault that Fei Wen was abandoned. You say you don't love me? Then why didn't you say you didn't love her earlier? You had already eaten her dry, used her money, used her resources, and achieved success. Then, you said you didn't love her? Ning Shu smiled. Perfect. Ning Shu's footsteps were light as if he was about to fly into the sky. Jian Luo wanted to say something but stopped. Seeing Ning Shu's happy expression, she couldn't open her mouth in the end. He couldn't bear to hurt Ning Shu, but he couldn't go against his heart. The more Ning Shu pressured her, the stronger the resistance in Jian Luo's heart. The more uncomfortable it was. Ning Shu had heard Jian Luo sobbing in the room more than once, but she still pretended not to hear it. Oh, Jian Luo could not open her mouth. She felt guilty. Did she have to wait for her to speak? What do you mean by seeing you in pain? I'm in pain too, so I'll let you go and be with the person you like. The wedding will be cancelled. Ning Shu, did you want her to say that? Then, you can be with someone else without any psychological burden. Not only did you let the abandoned person suffer, but you also let the hurt person be understanding and say things that you didn't want to say. You let me go yourself. I didn't want to go. TSK, couldn't people be more kind? He had spent so much money to marry Jian Luo. Even if she was a scary doll, he could still put her at home as a decoration. The flower that he had spent so much effort to water was taken away just like that. Furthermore, he had to be shamelessly given up. What kind of joke was that? What? Love was to fulfill their wish? Then why couldn't Jiang Yingyao fulfill their wish? Why did Fei Wen have to fulfill their wish? He even had the nerve to let someone else speak first. What kind of daydream was that? In these 10 days, Jian Luo's face had become skinny. Her cheekbones had become much higher, and the chubbier that she had grown before was gone. She obviously looked dispirited and was about to become autistic again. But Ning Shu still didn't cancel the wedding. Sometimes, Jian Luo would put on makeup for herself and come back with swollen eyes. As for who she went to see, Ning Shu knew very well. Ning Shu said to Jian Luo with concern, "The wedding will be in a few days. Don't go out for a while. Take care of yourself." "All right, let's go get the certificate tomorrow." Ning Shu said with a smile. Jian Luo moved her lips and said, "We can wait for a while. There's no need to rush. Let's wait until after the wedding." Ning Shu sneered in her heart. She frowned slightly and said, "It's the same. Let's get the certificate first. Then we'll officially be husband and wife. As for the wedding, it's just a ceremony to let others know that you're my wife." Jian Luo could only nod. At night, she paced around Ning Shu's door and finally knocked on Ning Shu's door. Ning Shu ignored her. He covered his head with the quilt and pretended not to hear. Jian Luo finally mustered up the courage to knock on Ning Shu's door, but Ning Shu did not open the door. Her strength that she had mustered up with much difficulty dissipated. She couldn't knock on Ning Shu's door anymore. After standing at the door for a long time, Jian Luo returned to her room. Ning Shu slept very well that night, but Jian Luo looked like she didn't sleep at all. There were dark circles under her eyes and she looked haggard. People would believe that someone died at home. She didn't look like someone who was about to get married. Ning Shu asked, "Did you not sleep well last night? Were you too excited?" Jian Luo wanted to ask Ning Shu why he didn't open the door, but she didn't seem to be in a position to question him. Ning Shu put the breakfast on the table and said, "We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau after eating." Jian Luo clutched the glass of milk and almost cried. Jian Luo raised her head and took a deep breath. She said to Ning Shu, "Feiwen, I have something to tell you." "Oh, go ahead." Ning Shu bit into his sandwich and said carelessly. He wanted to force Jian Luo to say it, not force her to back out. "Come on, accept the interrogation of your soul." If Jian Luo was completely shameless and kicked the client away without any psychological burden, it would be fine. If she was a complete scum, it would be fine. But Jian Luo seemed to be kind. Conscience or heart, make your choice. Jian Luo was a little scared when Ning Shu looked at her. She swallowed nervously and said, "Feiwen, can we get married later? I'm not ready yet." Ning Shu asked faintly, "When will you be ready? It's been so many years. Are you still not ready?" The client had been with Jian Luo for so many years. Shouldn't Jian Luo be ready to be his wife? Chapter 36-37. When it came to marriage, all kinds of problems would come out. Ning Shu said to Jian Luo, "Can you give me a reason for postponing the marriage certificate? A suitable reason for me to face such a blow when I am about to get married. Or you don't want to marry me?" Jian Luo hesitated for a while. "It's not like that." Ning Shu, "Then what is it? Tell me." "You know that all my friends, company partners, and employees in the company all know that I am going to get married. Even the date has been set. If I suddenly have to postpone it, how can I face others?" Jian Luo said, "We are the ones who are living our lives, not for them to see. Why should we listen to what outsiders say about our matters?" Ning Shu raised his handsome eyebrows. "That's true, but humans are social animals. They want to obtain all kinds of glory and psychological satisfaction in the group, and they also care about their reputation in the group. Don't care what others think. How do I make money and run the company? Our marriage is not just a matter between the two of us." "Ning Shu, you are in a dilemma." Jian Luo exhaled and decided to tell Ning Shu the truth. I haven't thought about marrying you yet. When I saw Jiang Yingyao again, I found that I still have feelings for him." There were feelings of love, sadness, and all kinds of emotions. Jian Luo felt like she was a living person. Ning Shu looked at her with a dumbfounded expression. He put down the half-eaten sandwich, took a sip of milk and said, "Jian Luo, I found that you are floating. Jiang Yingyao is your first love, but do you know what happened between the two of you? It is a scar that can't be healed." Jian Luo said, "But he is a ray of light in my life." Shining through the gap, she had lived for more than 10 years, and had been living in the malicious words of the people around her. He walked in. Pain is one thing, but more than that, it is warmth. Ning Shu sighed. There was nothing he could do about it. People would only remember the first person. Over the years, the person who entrusted her was also a ray of light into Jian Luo's life. Moreover, it was shining in all directions, but she only remembered Jiang Yingyao. Moreover, The two of them hadn't been together for long. Jian Luo had encountered this because of Jiang Yingyao. If she hadn't met Jiang Yingyao, she wouldn't have been captured because of saving Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao had brought her harm, but the person who had entrusted her with it hadn't. Ning Shu smirked and said with a malicious tone, "Do you think that you won't be affected by that matter when you're together? When the two of you sleep on the same bed, Jiang Yingyao won't remember the scene of you being raped. But when the two of you are intimate, will you remember the scene of Jiang Yingyao watching you from the side when you were hurt? Your sex life will not be harmonious." Ning Shu's words were rough and unpleasant. Jian Luo's face immediately turned red, and she couldn't speak for a long time. "Let's not talk about the problems between the two of you first. Do you think the Jiang family will accept you? When you were stranded in a foreign country, it was the Jiang family's elders who did it. Do you think they will accept you and let a tainted woman become the wife of the Jiang family? When the two of you are together, not only do you have to bear the pain brought by the memories, but you also have to face the strange eyes of the Jiang family. They may even use this matter to mock you. You have too many flaws. Your father is a ferocious murderer, and you yourself had an accident because of saving someone. Although you were trying to save Jiang Yingyao, you were still hurt by the bad guys. Understanding is one thing, but whether they accept it or not is another. Your scars have been exposed again and again. You are the one who is in pain, and others will only clap their hands and cheer because your existence will stain the Jiang family. They are mocked, and then they will turn to mock you. Can you bear it? You have been receiving psychological counseling all these years. It seems that the counseling is too good, so you still have such thoughts. Moreover, you were my fiancé before, and the Jiang family has to bear the joke of stealing someone else's wife. Don't say that your love can conquer everything. On the contrary, these external factors will only wear down the love between the two of you. You will think that it would have been better if you had not married him. He will think that it would have been better if he had not married you. Marriage is a matter between two families. Your family is very unbearable. Even if you have the title of a designer now, there are some things that can't be erased. I am different. I am an illegitimate child, and the Jiang family will not care about me. If I marry you, they will only be happy. And the two of us are people who have no elders. We can close the door and live our own lives comfortably." Ning Shu said a lot of things, and his mouth was dry. He picked up the milk and gulped down half a cup and said, "Think about it yourself. No matter who you marry, it will be better than being with Jiang Yingyao. If you really insist on being with Jiang Yingyao, I will." "You will what?" Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu expectantly, and her eyes burst out a bright light. She felt that she had said so much in vain. If Jian Luo had thought it through, it would have been fine. But she insisted on doing this, which made Ning Shu very unhappy. They were both women. Ning Shu said everything he wanted to say, but Jian Luo did not listen at all. The Jiang family could tolerate Jiang Yingyao becoming a public official because of what happened in the past. Jiang Yingyao and the elders of the Jiang family quarreled, and the elders tolerated it. However, if Jiang Yingyao wanted to marry Jian Luo, the Jiang family would have to be stupid to agree to it. There was shit in the hole, and there was poison in the shit. Ning Shu said, "I will never let you have an easy time." Ning Shu's harsh words made Jian Luo a little surprised. Because Fei Wen was a gentle person, when he said such harsh words, it made people feel that he was throwing a tantrum. Ning Shu said, "I am serious. All these years, I have been with you. I have poured all my efforts and resources into you. If it were not for me, you would be living like a beggar in a foreign country. How could you have such a good life?" Jian Luo bit her lips. She was very embarrassed because what he said was the truth, and Jian Luo could not deny it. "Are you going to settle the score with me?" He said he liked her, but now he was being so calculative, and Jian Luo did not like it. Ning Shu said, "Do you think I am a philanthropist? I spent so much effort on you because I like you. Are you going to tell me that I am not calculating well, and that love is selfless? If it was not selfless, then it was not true love." Chapter 36-38. What kind of concept was it that there was such an empty and rootless true love? Love that could not be based on material things was like an attic in the sky. Where did this concept of selflessness come from? Even if parents raised and nurtured their children, it was just to prepare for their retirement. Otherwise, why would some people try so hard to give birth to boys? Because the girl would belong to someone else's family in the future, and only boys could be relied on in their old age. Even family members needed each other and cared about each other. This relationship between strangers, and it had a very short duration, actually required selflessness. Selflessness for your whole family. Ning Shu stood up, leaned forward, reached out his hand to lift Jian Luo's chin, smiled and said, "You said selfless, then can you love me selflessly?" Jian Luo was stunned for a moment. But you don't love me. Selfless dedication to the person you like is happiness. Dedication to the person you don't love is torture. Ning Shu said lightly. From now on, then I will stop my dedication. All your design proposals in the company will not be approved, and you used my connections to become a student of a well-known designer. From now on, you don't need to use my connections and name to participate in various design exchanges. Use your own name. You don't need to go to the company. You will be suspended without pay, but you will keep your position as a designer in the company. Also, please move out and find a house on your own. Why, you look very surprised. Ning Shu smiled. You told me very clearly that you don't want to marry me, and you don't love me. Do you want me to be selfless for you? You are wasting other people's lives and time. I have to stop the loss immediately, find someone who loves me again, and get out of this rotten swamp. Jian Luo was extremely embarrassed. She was shocked and sad by Ning Shu's heartlessness. Of course, if you decide to marry me, you can continue to enjoy these privileges. Jian Luo was speechless. She was angry, but she was in no position to blame Ning Shu. This was the most infuriating thing. Jian Luo was full of guilt towards him. She did not recognize Jiang Yingyao before because she did not want Fei Wen to be sad, so she endured it. Seeing him like this, the guilt in Jian Luo's heart was reduced by a lot. You keep saying that, I keep saying that I love you, but I'm calculating these things. I can't selflessly dedicate myself to you and made you so angry. I'm sorry. Ning Shu spread out his hands and leaned back in his chair. Jian Luo said helplessly, I know you're angry, but you don't have to be like this. If I were to betray you today and get together with another woman before our wedding, I'm afraid you would jump into the sky and call me a big scumbag. It's already like this. If I still ask you to selflessly contribute to me and eat your food, I'm afraid you're spitting on my face. Put yourself in my shoes. If you were me, how would you feel? Ning Shu's face was covered with frost. Scram? Jian Luo was shocked, and humiliation flashed across her face. Being told to scram in such a blatant manner, with a strong sense of humiliation, Jian Luo could not stand it. Jian Luo was used to Fei Wen's kindness, and such a big contrast made Jian Luo extremely angry. The previous good feelings had disappeared, and now there was only Ning Shu's bad treatment of her in her heart. Jian Luo covered her mouth and rushed upstairs. She went to the room to pack her things. She stuffed the things into the box in a mess, and the clothes and jewelry were rolled into a ball. Jian Luo carried the box downstairs and did not even look at Ning Shu. She walked straight away. Ning Shu said, Wait. Jian Luo turned around and looked at Ning Shu. She asked sarcastically, Do you have anything else to say? Ning Shu said coldly, Open the box. Some things are given to you by me. You're not allowed to take away my things. Actually, speaking of which, I bought all the clothes you're wearing for you. I got someone to tailor them for you. If I were a little more heartless, you would have gone out naked. You. Jian Luo was helpless. Do you have to be like this? Of course. You seem to have forgotten that you cheated on me. I should be ashamed. I'm too good to you. If I'm not good to you, you still throw a tantrum. Who are you to me now? Who the hell spoils you? Open the box. Don't make me say it a second time. Jian Luo put down the box and opened it. There's something for you in here. Ning Shu glanced at it. Leave the jewelry. As for the clothes, leave them too. Jian Luo had been living a quiet life all these years. The clothes were the latest style sent home and directly put on Fei Wen's account. She was also given some jewelry from time to time. He just hoped that Jian Luo would be happy. Every time Jian Luo received something, she would be indifferent and thank the sender. Therefore, Jian Luo only had the right to use these things, but not the right to own them. Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu, dumbfounded. How can you be like this? What about me? Didn't I buy these things? I paid for them. You can find out where these clothes came from. Are these yours? Did you pay for them? Jian Luo was speechless and left the box. She was a little suspicious why Ning Shu was suddenly so heartless. She couldn't help but wonder. Did you want to break up with me long ago? That was why such a thing happened. She couldn't stand it, so that she would take the initiative to leave. This was a typical girl's mind. Ning Shu laughed. Not everyone is like you. I'm very angry now. I didn't kill you. I controlled myself. I'm already very calm. If you were betrayed by me now, you would probably want to kill me. I feel the same way now. I'm doing this to tell you that everything I gave you, everything you enjoyed, you can only enjoy it with me. If you're not with me, don't think about enjoying it anymore. You're too. Jian Luo was very embarrassed, as if she had been slapped in the face. Ning Shu said, I said it too straightforwardly and did it too directly. You can't stand it, right? You don't want to admit that you've been relying on me all these years. You think that it's just your own hard work. Hard work. Without resources, without the guidance of a famous teacher, you'd still be serving tea and washing dishes in some restaurant. Ning Shu said, You can go now. Jian Luo turned and left. Her footsteps were slow. Ning Shu glanced at her and didn't call out to her. I don't love you. What does your mood have to do with me? Since you're willing to be abused with Jiang Yingyao, then be together. It's a virtue to help others. He finally drove Jian Luo out. He didn't have to face her constipated face. Chapter 36-39. In front of Jian Luo, he couldn't even eat well. Now he was relaxed. Ning Shu stretched. Once Jian Luo left, the energy in the house became relaxed and cheerful. Negative energy was transmitted much faster than positive energy. For example, if you're happy and smiling, then the person you're talking to looks at you with a displeased expression. At this time, no matter how happy you were, you couldn't help but wonder what was wrong with this person. Then you would have all kinds of guesses. Your happy mood has been spoiled. Ning Shu felt that the only lucky thing about Fei Wen was that he was rich and had more resources. If Fei Wen was an ordinary man, with an ordinary appearance and an ordinary salary, he would have spent all his money on Jian Luo. In the end, Fei Wen chose another man. He would lose both his money and his wife. Just like the males in the natural world, in order to compete for a mate, they didn't rely on money, but their strong bodies. Defeating the opponent was extremely risky. It was very likely that they would be killed by the opponent. In order to obtain the right to mate with a female that belonged directly to him, he would strive for the female to give birth to offspring with his genes. This was a natural selection process. Even if you snatched the female, there were still many males eyeing you. Females were born with the right to choose. They could choose to be with a strong male to ensure that their offspring would have strong genes. It could be said that in order to reproduce, males had to pay the price of their lives. Humans had emotions. They were not so cruel, but the essence was the same. However, Fei Wen's ending was not good. In this way, Fei Wen was a loser. A loser in the battle for a mate, but he was unwilling to accept it. She had to act early to stop the damage. As for Jian Luo choosing someone else, he would be an idiot if he gave up without any regrets. It didn't make sense. If he wanted to get back after giving up so much, he would rush up and snatch her back. If he didn't want to snatch her back, he would just cut off the connection. Jian Luo left Ning Shu's house and didn't know where to go for a while. Jian Luo's life was arranged clearly by Fei Wen. Travel, choice of place, hotel, etc. were all arranged by Fei Wen. Moreover, Fei Wen had many subordinates. With just a word from Fei Wen, his subordinates would do the job properly. Jian Luo did not need to do anything at all. It was very convenient. But now, Jian Luo was alone and had no friends around her. She had to find a house by herself, find a place to eat by herself, and do all the miscellaneous chores by herself. Jian Luo looked at the heavy traffic and was at a loss for a moment. She did not know where to go or where to go. Dependence was a habit. Jian Luo had already gotten used to Fei Wen's existence. Even though she liked Jiang Yingyao, she had to leave a comfortable environment. First, he felt uncomfortable physically. Then, he felt uncomfortable psychologically. Giving up something that one was used to would be very uncomfortable. Jian Luo immediately took out her phone. She swiped her thumb across the screen and looked at the name on the screen. Her finger immediately tapped on Fei Wen's name. This had been a habit for many years, and Fei Wen's name was always at the top of Jian Luo's phone book. But just as he was about to click on it, Jian Luo's thumb stopped. Humph, they had just quarreled. If he called her now, wouldn't he seem weak? And Fei Wen had already asked her to leave. If she went back with her tail between her legs, it would be really embarrassing. Jian Luo scrolled down until she saw Jiang Yingyao's name. She stopped when she was about to tap on it. She did not want Jiang Yingyao to see her in such a sorry state. And Jian Luo had almost no such awareness in the face of scandals. She probably thought that Fei Wen had seen her in her worst state. No matter what she was like, Fei Wen should like her. But facing Jiang Yingyao, Jian Luo was not sure if he really liked her or loved her. She had to maintain her best state in front of him. Jian Luo had no place to stay. She could not find an apartment quickly, so she found a hotel to stay in. These years, Jian Luo's material life was very good. She basically had the best and never had to worry about food, clothing, housing, and transportation. She found the best hotel to stay in and then began to look for an apartment. Jian Luo thought that it was too troublesome to find an apartment, so she prepared to buy one. When she asked about the price, she was shocked. Although Jian Luo lived a good life, it was Fei Wen who paid for it. Jian Luo had only started to earn money in the last 2 or 3 years. She only became a professional designer 2 or 3 years ago. She started to work and earn money in Fei Wen's company. The salary was not high or low. This was also because Fei Wen opened the back door and often used her design concept. In 2 or 3 years, it was still impossible for Jian Luo to buy an apartment in the city center of a first-tier city on her own. At least she would have to struggle for a long time. When Jian Luo heard the price, she waved her hand and left. The salesperson also rolled her eyes. Jian Luo was very embarrassed. It had been a long time since someone rolled their eyes at her. Since she could not afford an apartment, Jian Luo could only rent an apartment, a better one. Besides, even if she bought an apartment, she had to renovate it. She still did not live in it. In short, she still had to rent an apartment. For the whole day, Jian Luo ran around the real estate agency. The apartments she saw were either too small, too far from the city center, or too ugly. After all these years of living like a princess, Jian Luo did not like messy apartments. Annoyed by these trivial matters, Jian Luo's heart was incomparably stuffy, and she was also a little resentful towards Ning Shu. Jian Luo took out her mobile phone and called Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao, who received the call, appeared in front of Jian Luo as fast as he could. Seeing that Jian Luo was in a bad mood and looked tired, he asked what happened. Jian Luo sighed and told him about the conflict between her and her fiancé. She was kicked out. Jiang Yingyao endured the sadness and said angrily, "No matter what happened, he should not kick a girl like you out of the house. What if something dangerous happened?" Jiang Yingyao could not imagine that if something happened to Jian Luo, he would go crazy. More than 10 years ago, that incident had already caused him great pain. If something happened to Jian Luo, who was very similar to her, Jiang Yingyao felt that he would go crazy. As for the next thing, Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo looked for an apartment together. With the person they liked by their side, it was much easier to do things together. Jiang Yingyao hesitated and asked, "What happened to make him kick you out?" This was a matter between lovers. Jiang Yingyao felt that he should not ask. Chapter 3640. But he couldn't help but want to ask. Jiang Yingyao had hope in his heart. Jian Luo stared at him. "Because I said that I suddenly don't want to marry him." Jiang Yingyao couldn't believe it. His eyes were filled with great surprise. He forced himself to calm down. Why? Because I'm Lu Jing. Jian Luo said. Lu Jing, Lu Jing. Jiang Yingyao felt as if an arrow had pierced through his heart. His mind was filled with Lu Jing's name, making him unable to react normally. He stood there in a daze. Sorry, I changed my name. Jian Luo said. Jiang Yingyao suddenly squatted down and buried his head between his arms. His body trembled slightly as if he was crying. Jian Luo didn't expect his reaction. She had thought of many possibilities. Jiang Yingyao might question her, or he might be happy, but he was crying. Jiang Yingyao calmed himself down and wiped his tears. Now that you're in front of me, I only feel happy and lucky. I'm sorry. Jiang Yingyao breathed a sigh of relief. The burden that had been on him all these years seemed to have lightened a little. Jiang Yingyao reached out and hugged her. Thank God that I can still meet you. Jian Luo leaned into Jiang Yingyao's arms and listened to his heartbeat. She had never felt so peaceful before. Ning Shu was very busy. He was busy calling everyone to tell them that his wedding was cancelled and he didn't have to come to the wedding. Because there was no bride. Before the wedding, the bride had to know her own feelings. She loved someone else. The people who received the call were speechless. Fuck, this was too much. How could they comfort this miserable man? They could only persuade Ning Shu that it was better to be clear with you before the wedding than to mess around behind your back after the wedding. You're so good, you'll definitely meet someone better. A man doesn't have to worry about not having a wife. Ning Shu was speechless as he listened to these people's comforting words. Was he still thanking Jian Luo for telling him before the wedding? As an abandoned person, Ning Shu was the perfect example of decadence. He was too lazy to go to work. Anyway, it was fine if he wasn't in the company for a few days. At the same time, he turned off his phone. As a missing person, he had to cut off all contact with the outside world. Of course, a secretary ran to Ning Shu's villa and said to Ning Shu in a very sad tone, President Fei, Jian Luo came to the company to resign. She packed her things and left. I think the person waiting for her is a man. Above Boss Fei's head was a patch of lush green grass, and there were many alpacas on it. The secretary looked at Ning Shu with pity. She handed in her resignation letter. I said that Boss Fei was not around and it was not easy to approve it. Then Jian Luo said that she would not come to the company whether you approved it or not. Ning Shu was very dispirited. His eyes were bloodshot. He had smoked a lot of onions. The secretary didn't know how to comfort him. Ning Shu said, then send her a lawyer's letter. Ask the company's lawyer to send her one. According to the labor law, she can be investigated in her current situation. It was fine if he didn't take this matter seriously. Even if he did, there was evidence to back it up. The secretary looked at Ning Shu with even more pity. She felt that Ning Shu was doing this to keep Jian Luo. However, seeing that Jian Luo looked relaxed and happy as she left with another man, Boss Fei felt that his efforts were useless. Ning Shu didn't care what Jian Luo wanted to do. He wanted to use this opportunity to get something back from Jian Luo. He wanted her to pay a price. Although he might not get much back and Jiang Yingyao might pay for him, it was good that he could annoy Jian Luo. Although it looked like she was doing this out of love and could not get what she wanted. Jian Luo would probably be with Jiang Yingyao with a clear conscience. Instead of giving without complaints, Jian Luo was still with Jiang Yingyao. It was better to make Jian Luo give something back. The secretary went to do it. Before she left, she encouraged Ning Shu and told him to pull himself together. There were still so many people waiting for Ning Shu in the company. These subordinates wanted Ning Shu to be well more than Jian Luo so that they could have a foothold. Ning Shu said, I know. I'll go back to the company after I'm done. The secretary patted Ning Shu's shoulder. As a man, the secretary understood this feeling very well. He had been feeding dogs for so many years. Even if he fed dogs, the dogs would still get close to the person who fed them. Humans had emotions, but they were also much crueler. Under the secretary's pitiful gaze, Ning Shu felt that his acting was not good enough. He should go to the company tomorrow. Let the rumors and gossips spread further. Ning Shu stayed up all night and made himself look more haggard. He tossed and turned in bed and forced himself not to sleep. It was not easy for him to stay up until dawn. Ning Shu quickly got up. Although he was tidy, the haggard look on his face could not be hidden. As soon as Ning Shu arrived at the company, from the security guards at the company's gate to the company's top management, they all looked at Ning Shu with pity. Their eyes were full of pity, but they had to pretend that they did not care. They treated Ning Shu as usual, but this was even more awkward. They talked behind her back, but when they saw her coming, they pretended to be very normal. They looked like they wanted to comfort her, but they were afraid that they would hurt her heart. Ning Shu directly locked himself in the office. He was too lazy to look at these people. He felt tired for them. Ning Shu looked at the document. Suddenly the door was opened. Someone broke in without knocking first. Ning Shu looked at the intruder very unhappily. It was Jian Luo. Jian Luo walked to the desk in high heels. She slammed the lawyer's letter on the table and asked, "What's going on?" Ning Shu said, "Can't you read? If you can't understand the content, then hire a lawyer and let the lawyer explain it to you." Jian Luo said, "You know what I'm talking about. I'm asking you, why did you do this?" Ning Shu said, "Because you violated the labor contract. Although you were suspended, you were not fired, so the labor relationship still exists. You handed in your resignation letter, but I did not reply. You resigned unilaterally. And you have been in the company for a while, and you have come into contact with some of the company's confidential designs and ideas. I don't know if you will leak it and affect my company." Jian Luo was a little angry. "You know what kind of person I am. How can I leak the company's secrets?" Ning Shu shrugged. "How would I know? People change at will. For example, between us, it's been so many years. It's been almost 10 years. It really changes at will. You're telling me this. Find a lawyer." Ning Shu looked at her coldly. "Get out. You broke in without knocking. You are very unscrupulous to me. Do you think I will tolerate you no matter what?" Jian Luo bit her lip and turned to leave with the lawyer's letter. When she walked to the door, she looked back at Ning Shu. "Feiwen, I'm sorry. P.S. Readers, I am very pretentious. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, zero ads, and multiple reading modes. Dear readers, please pay attention to this matter." Chapter 3641. A simple apology could cancel out all the things that had happened between them. Apologies did not have that much power. Stabbing someone and putting on a band-aid would make the scars disappear. People who apologized generously were bearing their own pain and magnanimous. But if others did not choose to forgive, it was because the pain was too much. They did not know how painful it was to be stabbed with a knife. Ning Shu said lightly, "I accept your apology, but I will not forgive you." Saying sorry was just to make herself feel better. "I have repented and apologized." Jian Luo pursed her lips and sniffed. "Feiwen, I know that no matter what I do, I can't make up for the harm I've done to you." Ning Shu was really annoyed with Jian Luo. "Since you've decided to hurt me, you're doing everything you can to repent. You want to have a clear conscience and want to be with the person you like. There's no such thing as having the best of both worlds. In a threesome, one person is destined to be hurt. The damage has already been done. What's the point of saying these words? You're saying that you're kind, but you didn't mean it. You've already made your choice. Don't be so hypocritical. If I were the one who ran away with another woman, you'd be the one who got hurt. Why would I say these words in front of you? I'm afraid you'll think that I still have ulterior motives towards you and treat you as a spare tire. Are you doing this to leave yourself a way out? Since you've already hurt me, why don't you be a little more ruthless? Don't be so wishy-washy." Jian Luo was speechless. Why didn't she realize that this guy's words were so harsh? It was so direct that it was hard to accept. She just wanted Feiwen to be less hurt, but it seemed that Feiwen was hurt even more. Jian Luo was at a loss. She just didn't want him to be hurt and tried her best to do something. Jian Luo used her own way of thinking. She wanted everyone to be happy, that would be the best. She was actually standing on the side of the winner, as if she was showing pity for the injured loser. But this kind of care was more uncomfortable than no care at all. This kind of seeming right and wrong, as well as being neither close nor distant, simply leaving, directly abandoning, although it was painful and hateful, it also directly cut off the hope of others. Jian Luo took a deep breath and said, Fei Wen, I've decided to be with Jiang Yingyao. Ning Shu, oh, I won't give you my blessings. Jian Luo did not expect to receive Ning Shu's blessings, so she turned and left. Being able to be friends after being separated was basically a legend. Unless they reconciled. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and snorted. Who cares what you guys do? If you want to be together, then be together. However, now that the two of them were together, every time they saw each other, they would be reminded of what had happened more than 10 years ago. Looking at the other party was like looking at pain. What was the point? Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo broke through the window paper and got together. His speed was very fast, causing those who knew about this matter to look at Ning Shu with even more pity. They got together so quickly. How long had Fei Wen been cuckolded? What a pity, what a pity. Some of the friends who felt injustice for Ning Shu, when they saw Jian Luo, they sneered and ridiculed her, making Jian Luo speechless. Moreover, the things that these people said, one by one, were things that Jian Luo could not deny. His girlfriend was being ridiculed, so Jiang Yingyao naturally had to defend her. When Jiang Yingyao spoke, although the people around him were a little hesitant, their expressions were still vague and disdainful. Although Jiang Yingyao was not in the business world, the Jiang family was still very famous in the business world. Because of the Jiang family, they gave Jiang Yingyao some face and did not say anything unpleasant. However, in their hearts, they were still cursing this adulterous couple. This woman was also not a good thing. She still wanted to climb up the Jiang family. Jian Luo felt as if she had been engraved with Fei Wen's mark. Wherever she went, those who knew her and those who knew Fei Wen would look at her with condemnation. It was as if she was some kind of rebellious person. She felt guilty towards Fei Wen. She felt that she owed him, but this feeling was very uncomfortable and even became an inner demon. She felt that only when the inner demon disappeared would this feeling disappear. In order to avoid meeting acquaintances, Jian Luo did not like to go out. Even if she went on dates with Jiang Yingyao, they would go to mid-range restaurants and not those who went to high-end restaurants. Although she had already left Fei Wen, she felt that Fei Wen's shackles were so strong that she was not free. At this time, Jian Luo faintly felt that all these years, Fei Wen had weaved a kind of gentle cage for her. He introduced her to all his friends and used his own resources to pave the way for her. Unless she left this level and did not associate with people of this level, she could feel it. However, Jiang Yingyao was at this level. She could not avoid it. After choosing Jiang Yingyao, everyone knew that she had left Fei Wen. It was impossible for her to abandon Jiang Yingyao and be with Fei Wen. How did things become like this? Jian Luo had changed her name. Her past had been buried and no one knew about it. Therefore, these people did not know about Jian Luo's past. However, others did not know, but those who were interested would investigate, such as the Jiang family. Old Madame Jiang said to her grandson, I heard that you have a girlfriend. Bring her home. Jiang Yingyao was a little hesitant. If he brought Jian Luo back, the past would be mentioned again. It would be difficult for his family to accept Jian Luo. More than 10 years ago, it was them who caused him to be separated from Jian Luo for so many years. They caused him to bear the guilt and pain for so many years. Jiang Yingyao said, after a while, she is the daughter of an ordinary family. She does not know my identity. Old Madame Jiang's stern face was full of wrinkles. She looked ferocious. Then are you going to be like your grandfather and father, sneaking around like this? The men of the Jiang family are all like this. They are all old and shameless. When old Madame Jiang talked about the men of the Jiang family, her face was full of resentment. Jiang Yingyao had no choice but to choose a time to bring Jian Luo back to meet his parents. Sooner or later, they would have to meet. He would definitely marry Jian Luo. The men of the Jiang family seemed to be a little presumptuous when it came to women. For example, Jiang Yingyao's grandfather, in his 60s, had Fei Wen with his mistress. It was enough to show how shameless he was. Jiang Yingyao's father was a man of average ability. He was suppressed by his father to the point that he could not raise his head. He loved to show off his power on women and enjoy their worship. After his father died, he was controlled by his mother and could not raise his head. He became more and more unscrupulous when it came to women. However, when it came to Jiang Yingyao's generation, there seemed to be another type of lover. Jiang Yingyao was a lover. He just hoped that Jian Luo's identity would not be exposed. There was hope and luck in his heart. After all, Jian Luo's identity was perfect. Chapter 3642. Everything in the past had been erased. Jian Luo's current identity was a child adopted by a foreign couple. Everything in the country had been erased. Jiang Yingyao felt that Fei Wen had done a perfect job. He had to admit. But Jiang Yingyao was unhappy. When Jian Luo was in the most pain, someone else was by her side. Actually, Jiang Yingyao also knew that Jian Luo's identity was not glorious. If she found out, the chances of them being together would be even smaller. Grandma was a strict woman. She would never allow him to marry Jian Luo. Jiang Yingyao hid Jian Luo's identity and did not dare to tell his family. He subconsciously felt that Jian Luo's background was not good. But he told himself that he was doing this to be with Jian Luo. In fact, the more he hid it, the more he cared. The darker the corner, the more moist and the easier it was to grow. It was sticky, greasy, and dirty. It spread out and unknowingly, it had taken root in his body. Jiang Yingyao told Jian Luo that he would bring her home. Jian Luo's face turned pale. She remembered that she was saved after being hurt by bad people. The Jiang family looked at her as if she was dirty. They thanked her and said that they would reward her. But the condition was not to appear in front of Jiang Yingyao. There was no dirty person in the Jiang family. Dirty person? The scar in Jian Luo's heart was torn open violently. She was in so much pain that she trembled. She was afraid to see the Jiang family. She was afraid to see the Jiang family's eyes. Jian Luo timidly said that she wanted to wait. Jiang Yingyao knew what Jian Luo was afraid of. But if they wanted to get married, the old madam had to say it. Chapter 3643. Going home. This meant that their fate was in the hands of Grandma. Jiang Yingyao held Jian Luo's cold hands and said, "Grandma wants to see you. She has arranged for this weekend." Jian Luo was still hesitant. Jiang Yingyao said, "If we want to be together, we have to go through Grandma. I'm sorry that you've been wronged. For me, for our future, let's meet our family. If anything happens, I will take you away immediately. I won't let you be wronged." Hearing Jiang Yingyao's words, Jian Luo's heart was filled with sweetness and courage. She nodded. These few days, Jian Luo had been busy with her appearance. What should she wear to meet Jiang Yingyao's family? She could not be too revealing. She had to dress modestly and gracefully. There was the problem of going back and forth to determine the style, and also the problem of choosing a gift. After going back and forth to choose, it wasn't that the price was not satisfactory, but that the gift was too ordinary. But if it was something too expensive, if Jian Luo paid for it herself, she might have to spend all her money. After all, the members of the Jiang family were all rich. They had never seen anything before. If it was something too ordinary, what would others think? Jian Luo gritted her teeth and accepted the more expensive gift. Even if it was for herself and Jiang Yingyao, it was worth it. Jiang Yingyao was shocked when he saw the gift Jian Luo bought. He asked her why she bought such an expensive gift. Jian Luo did not say anything. If it was not an expensive gift, the Jiang family would not accept it. Jian Luo's heart was filled with apprehension and uneasiness towards the Jiang family members she was about to meet. She felt that the Jiang family would not accept her at all. Her fate with Jiang Yingyao was full of misfortune. On Sunday, Jian Luo dressed herself up beautifully and went to Jiang Yingyao's house with gifts. As soon as she arrived at the castle-like villa, Jian Luo felt that it was difficult to breathe. Her entire body was trembling, and she could not sit still. When he entered the living room, he saw a stern-looking old lady sitting on the sofa. Jian Luo recognized her at a glance. She was much older in the past. Jiang Yingyao held Jian Luo's hand and walked in front of old Madame Jiang. He introduced Jian Luo to her. Old Madame Jiang looked at Jian Luo and said lightly, "You look just like when you were young." As soon as old Madame Jiang said this, Jian Luo's face turned pale. Her body was on the verge of collapsing, and she almost fell to the ground. Jiang Yingyao supported her. Jiang Yingyao sighed. Sure enough, Grandma knew. He was hoping for a fluke, but he forgot that Grandma would investigate the people he was dating. It was the same 10 years ago, and it was the same 10 years later. Old Madame Jiang. Jian Luo shouted with a trembling voice. Jiang Yingyao said to Grandma in a pleading tone, Grandma, I want to marry her. I want to be with her. I have been in pain for so many years. Only by being with her will I not be in pain. The heavy sense of guilt made him unable to bear it. Old Madame Jiang shook her head coldly. No, she was raped by criminals. Her father is a cruel murderer. He is still in prison and will not be able to get out in this lifetime. Do you want to be laughed at for the rest of your life? She is a pile of shit. Once you touch her, it stinks. Old Madame Jiang used the coldest metaphor to describe Jian Luo. Jian Luo's face was not only pale, but also green and white. She was so ashamed that she wanted to die. Grandma. Jiang Yingyao covered his head and groaned, Don't say that. Old Madam, there is a guest outside. The maid walked in and said to Old Madame Jiang. Who is it? Old Madame Jiang asked without hesitation. Her face was cold, making her look even fiercer. It's me. Ning Shu walked into the hall in his shiny black leather shoes. Old Madame Jiang saw Ning Shu and showed a deep disgust. What are you doing here? Ning Shu ignored Old Madame Jiang's expression. He sat on the sofa and said, Although you don't admit it, the blood of the Jiang family runs in my body. I heard that my nephew brought his niece-in-law to meet the parents, so I came to see. Old Madame Jiang sneered, Get lost. What does everything in the Jiang family have to do with you? Your father died a long time ago. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. It was karma. Old Master Jiang indulged in women and as a result, his wife died many years ago. When the mother of the client, Fei Wen, saw the old man kneel down, she directly abandoned the young Fei Wen and found another way out. Fortunately, the old man saved a fund for the client and there was a professional to take care of it. In fact, if the client's mother stayed, she would not have to worry about food and clothing. However, she did not know. It seemed that old Master Jiang hid something from his mistress. Old Madame Jiang endured her husband and the old man died. Now that she had the Jiang family in her hands, it was a happy ending. As for the illegitimate son of the client, as long as he did not return to the Jiang family, old Madame Jiang did not kill him. Of course, she also despised him. If the son of a mistress could not marry into the family, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven if he wanted to inherit the Jiang family. This was also the reason why the client was able to develop smoothly abroad. Ning Shu was not here to deal with old Madame Jiang, and he did not have any designs on the Jiang family's assets. /BK Chapter 3643. Ning Shu came over to add bricks and tiles to the two's love story, building a thick barrier. At the same time, he came to find out Madame Jiang's opinion of Jian Luo. Looking at Jian Luo's tottering appearance, as if she was about to faint, this harsh and strict old Madame Jiang must have said some harsh and ear-piercing words. Madame Jiang's gaze was fixed on the sofa under Ning Shu's, but her face was full of disdain and disgust. She was afraid that after Ning Shu left, the sofa that Ning Shu sat on would be thrown away by Madame Jiang. It was indeed so. Madame Jiang especially hated Ning Shu, the child of that damned old man outside with another woman. A bastard with filthy blood flowing through his body had actually entered the house of his master. She even let her grandson marry such a woman. It was really shameful. Madame Jiang was a very strict person. She looked at everyone like this, except for her own child. However, even her own son could not raise his head under her pressure. She was not a gentle woman. But she seemed to like such an iron fist and did not like to be disobeyed. You have the blood of the Jiang family flowing in your body. Who has admitted it? Don't be wishful thinking. Otherwise, even what you have now, I can destroy for you. Madame Jiang's face was full of wrinkles. She was such an evil mother-in-law who scared children. Ning Shu sighed. I really want to be recognized by the Jiang family. Unfortunately, The Jiang family does not recognize me. I don't want my birth to be unknown. The client really did not want to return to the Jiang family. After all, he knew that returning to the Jiang family was a thankless task. So what if he was recognized by the Jiang family? So what if he was not recognized by the Jiang family? Why not be more carefree? Even his own mother could abandon him. How could the Jiang family, who regarded him as a thorn in their side, get a little bit of expectation from them? You have some self-awareness in your heart. You can go now. You casually break into other people's house. Sure enough, you are a bastard with a mother but no mother to teach you. Madame Jiang had always been unscrupulous in speaking to people she disliked. She would say whatever was unpleasant to hear. She had the power to kill her opponent with her words. She was temperamental, and others had to endure it. Her power in the Jiang family allowed her to not have to care about other people's feelings. It was probably because he had endured too much when he was young. Now that this damned old man was kneeling, he could no longer endure. Ning Shu's face darkened. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't happy either. The more old Madame Jiang acted like this, the more difficult it would be for Jian Luo. If old Madame Jiang knew that Jian Luo had such a past with him. Ning Shu stood up. Actually, I'm here today to see someone for the last time. In the end, my status is lower than others. Since nephew likes her, even if she is my fiancée, I will still give her to you. Ning Shu said with a sorrowful expression. I wish you all happiness. Were they here to give their blessings? Jiang Yingyao didn't expect Fei Wen to have such a relationship with him. Fei Wen was obviously here to mess things up. His grandfather's son? Therefore, the uncle and nephew fell in love with the same woman. The hostility between rivals in love and the rejection of the son of the mistress made Jiang Yingyao hate Ning Shu even more. Jiang Yingyao said, It's not that you gave her, it's that Jian Luo doesn't love you. Ning Shu sighed heavily again. Doesn't love her? If she doesn't love me, why did she become my fiancée? Do you know how long we've been together? It's been more than 10 years. Jiang Yingyao saw old Madame Jiang's expression and had a bad feeling. He immediately said, Then we met first. We've known each other since we were 10 years old. Ning Shu said directly, But you only brought her harm. The Jiang family only brought her harm. I don't understand. They hurt you so much but you still choose them. Ning Shu looked at Jian Luo sadly. Jian Luo couldn't say a word. Her mind was in a mess. Her heart was at a loss. Ning Shu finally said, I wish you all the best. I quit. Ning Shu turned and left. Old Madame Jiang frowned as she looked at her back. Her sparse eyebrows were knitted together. She looked very fierce. Old Madame Jiang looked back and forth between Jian Luo, Ning Shu, and Jiang Yingyao. She seemed to be thinking about something, and then her expression became more and more ugly. Ning Shu walked to the door and looked back at old Madame Jiang's constipated face. He knew that the old lady was imagining things. She was imagining things. It could only be said that imagination saved the world. Ning Shu left happily. As soon as Ning Shu left, old Madame Jiang said to her grandson with a pale face, Come upstairs with me. I have something to say to you. Jiang Yingyao looked at Jian Luo. Jian Luo nodded thoughtfully and said, Go ahead. But this made old Madame Jiang's expression even worse. She looked at Jian Luo even more unhappily. If she wanted to talk to her son, she had to get Jian Luo's permission. Her grandson was her. She didn't like an outsider controlling her grandson. Jian Luo was stared at by old Madame Jiang. She didn't know how she had offended her. Jian Luo couldn't help but feel sad. If she hadn't been hurt by bad people, if her father wasn't a murderer, and she was the daughter of a rich family. Today, she wouldn't have been humiliated for no reason. When she was young, she had lived a sad life. After meeting Fei Wen, although she was sad, she had never been humiliated like this and couldn't fight back. In those years, the people who were in contact with Fei Wen and her didn't know about her life. Jian Luo's body was cold. It was as if she had returned to when she was young. She was pointed at by people, whispered, and looked at with strange laughter. This feeling was really bad. It was very bad. She couldn't bear it. It was really painful. Jiang Yingyao held Jian Luo's hand and comforted her silently. He asked the maid to pour a glass of water for Jian Luo, and then followed old Madame Jiang upstairs. Old Madame Jiang raised the crutch in her hand and hit Jiang Yingyao hard. Jiang Yingyao grimaced in pain. He smiled and said, "Grandma, don't be angry. Let me massage your shoulders." Old Madame Jiang sneered, "Don't try to curry favor. I won't let you marry her." "Grandma, listen to me first. This is no longer a matter between the two of you. If you marry her, the entire Jiang family will be humiliated." Jiang Yingyao said with a headache, "Grandma, what era are we in now? A person's body is made of skin and organs. Why label some organs as clean and clean, or dirty and unclean? If the heart was hurt, then the heart would be dirty." Old Madame Jiang said, "Don't tell me this. You can't marry her. You don't care at all." "I don't care. She didn't want to be hurt. Moreover, she did it to save me." Chapter 3644. It was stupid to save you, but in that situation, what could a child like her do? What would the consequences be if she rushed up? Brainless. Old Madame Jiang saw her grandson's expression and softened her voice, but it was still very stiff. "Besides, I made it up to her afterwards, but she ran away as if she was insulted." Jiang Yingyao covered his head and said with some pain, "Stop talking." He could completely imagine the pain Jian Luo suffered at that time. She was hurt and had to face the arrogant faces of the Jiang family. Old Madame Jiang was disappointed. "Don't you think this is a conspiracy?" Jiang Yingyao wiped his face and asked expressionlessly, "What conspiracy?" Old Madame Jiang was extremely disappointed with the men of the Jiang family. They were all obsessed with women, and all 3 generations were like this. If it weren't for the sake of carrying on the family line, old Madame Jiang would have castrated these men one by one. Women were all like this. Old Madame Jiang said, "This woman is soft and weak, but she is very scheming. First, she used that bastard as a springboard. Knowing that he had no chance to inherit the Jiang family, she kicked him away and targeted you." Jiang Yingyao, I am just a small police officer now." Jiang Yingyao felt that his grandmother was really sick. She was too suspicious. It seemed that everyone in the world came for the Jiang family's money. Old Madame Jiang said, "Even if you are a public servant now, you are still a member of the Jiang family. You will definitely inherit the Jiang family in the future. Hurry up and resign and come back to manage the family. Otherwise, according to your father's temper, a group of bastards will come to snatch the Jiang family from you. Don't say that you don't care about the Jiang family. When those people take over the family, you will have no way to survive. Do you think you can survive with a small salary as a public servant?" Jiang Yingyao, don't make people so anxious. Deliberately make people anxious. Old Madame Jiang said, and Jiang Yingyao asked with some pain, "And what?" He felt that he was getting farther and farther away from Jian Luo. Should he consider leaving the Jiang family to be with Jian Luo? If he chose the Jiang family, he would not be able to be with Jian Luo, because his grandmother would not agree. The entire Jiang family, including the company's directors, would not agree. At this time, his marriage was no longer his own choice, but a community of interests. He felt like an ancient emperor. If he chose the Jiang family, he would have to give up Jian Luo. "Madame Jiang, of course it has something to do with that bastard just now. Don't you think that Jian Luo and Fei Wen are conspiring against the Jiang family?" Old Madame Jiang's face was serious. Jiang Yingyao felt even more pained. Where did that come from? He could not keep up with his grandmother's thoughts at all. Jian Luo hates the Jiang family, and that bastard Fei Wen wants to take back the Jiang family. The two of them will work together and use your feelings and guilt to take back the Jiang family. Old Madame Jiang could already predict what would happen in the future. Jiang Yingyao. That's not possible. What's impossible? Old Madame Jiang tapped her walking stick on the ground. Her grandson's nonchalant look made it seem as if he didn't notice the impending crisis at all. How foolish. Then why are the two of them together? Fei Wen must have investigated the Jiang family and found out about Jian Luo's relationship with you. That's why he got together with Jian Luo. These two have been together for more than 10 years. I don't know what they are plotting. They are really ambitious. Whether it was because Jian Luo was vain and chose Jiang Yingyao and abandoned Fei Wen, or because there was a conspiracy between the two of them, old Madame Jiang would never agree to Jian Luo marrying into the Jiang family. Marrying her into the Jiang family would be marrying a scourge with evil intentions. Jiang Yingyao. He could not wake up his grandmother who was immersed in her fantasy. She insisted that Jian Luo was not good. Things had become more troublesome. It seemed that his grandmother would never agree to the two of them being together. What should he do? Jiang Yingyao now understood why that bastard Fei Wen was here. He was here to add fuel to the fire. As for the encounter between Jian Luo and Fei Wen, Jian Luo had already told him the whole story. Jian Luo and Fei Wen were definitely not together like what his grandmother thought. Their encounter should be completely accidental. It could only be said that it was a tangle of fate. Jian Luo was someone that his grandmother hated. Fei Wen was also someone that his grandmother hated. These two people were still in contact with each other, which would only make his grandmother hate them even more. Jiang Yingyao felt that he had not had a good day for more than 10 years after that incident. He finally met Jian Luo again. It was the same result again. It was so painful. Madame Jiang saw the struggle and choice on her grandson's face and was shocked. She said in shock, "That bastard is so vicious." Jiang Yingyao, what's wrong now? Madame Jiang looked at her ignorant grandson and was very anxious. Fei Wen deliberately sent that woman to the Jiang family and let me know about his relationship with Jian Luo. He knew that I would not agree to the two of you being together. But if you insist on being with her, you will definitely make trouble with me. Maybe you will even leave the Jiang family in order to choose Jian Luo. This way, the board of directors will be very dissatisfied with you. The board of directors may object to you being the successor if he loves the beauty but not the country. This will give him an opportunity to take advantage of you. If you don't choose Jian Luo, you will be in pain for the rest of your life and live in guilt. Madame Jiang's face became uglier as she spoke. Anyway, the hole in her brain had already broken through the sky. In short, that bastard wants us to not have a peaceful life. So vicious. He was indeed a bastard with a vicious and dirty heart. Jiang Yingyao, he had nothing to say. Jiang Yingyao said with some anticipation, "Then Grandma, you will agree to let me marry Jian Luo and I won't have to leave the Jiang family. Isn't that good?" Madame Jiang immediately said, "That's impossible. How can I be willing to marry her when I know that she is a scourge? Dream on." Jiang Yingyao spread out his hands. "See, you fell into their trap." He was in a dilemma. Madame Jiang said, "Then it's good that you don't marry Jian Luo. Their conspiracy will not succeed." Jiang Yingyao. He could not continue this topic. He could not help but say, "Grandma, they are not what you think. You are silly. You may know a person for a long time but not his heart. Can you guarantee that Jian Luo still loves you after so many years? She hates the Jiang family and wants to take revenge on the Jiang family? It was because of the Jiang family that she left home." Jiang Yingyao took a deep breath. "Grandma, I don't want to talk." He turned and left the study and went downstairs. Jian Luo was sitting on the sofa downstairs, holding a teacup in her hand and drinking it. Very desolate, very lonely, and also very distressing. "Grandma, what did you say? Do you not agree to us being together?" Jian Luo asked carefully. Jiang Yingyao forced a smile. "Don't worry, I will solve it." Chapter 3645. Although Jiang Yingyao had not found a solution, he would not give up on Jian Luo. The worst result would be to leave the Jiang family. All these years, he had survived without the Jiang family. The glory he had was not given to him by the Jiang family. The Jiang family gave him too much pressure. In this family, there was no loyalty. Money had become the capital of these people. His grandfather and father did not care about their wives at home and went to find women outside. His grandfather had an illegitimate son at his age. Jiang Yingyao felt annoyed when he thought of Fei Wen. He deliberately misled his grandmother to think that Jian Luo had bad intentions. Jiang Yingyao said to Jian Luo, You don't have to feel guilty about Fei Wen anymore. Because of him, my grandmother has a bad impression of you. She thinks that you are colluding with each other to steal the Jiang family's property. Jian Luo quickly waved her hand and explained, No, I have never thought of stealing the Jiang family's property. Fei Wen did not ask me to do so. She had never told Fei Wen about her past with the Jiang family. Fei Wen, on the other hand, was very secretive about her background. Only a few words were heard. Fei Wen said that her father had passed away and her mother had remarried. When she learned that Fei Wen was Jiang Yingyao's uncle, she was also shocked and a little speechless. Why was her relationship with the Jiang family so messy? If they met again, it would be even more awkward. If Fei Wen returned to the Jiang family, they would meet frequently. However, according to the old lady's attitude, the chances of Fei Wen returning to the Jiang family were very small. The old lady hated him very much. Similarly, the old lady hated her very much. Jian Luo was a little tired. What should she do? She felt that the possibility of them being together was very small. There were too many obstacles. Jiang Yingyao held Jian Luo's hand and said firmly, Don't worry, I will not let go of your hand this time. Jian Luo looked up and smiled at Jiang Yingyao. She nodded heavily, I believe in you. Old Lady Jiang stood on the stairs and looked at Jian Luo and Jiang Yingyao. She gripped her walking stick tightly and her expression was very ugly. Jian Luo was like a rat that spoiled a pot of porridge. Whether he married her or not, there would be a disturbance for a while. In the end, who knew what would happen? Right now, Jiang Yingyao's feelings for Jian Luo were the strongest. Guilt and deep affection could make Jiang Yingyao make any decision. Old Madame Jiang also knew that she was going to die eventually. She was in control of the Jiang family now, but the Jiang family would eventually be handed over to the Jiang family. Of course, he would hand it over to his own grandson. As for that bastard son, he was just a useless good-for-nothing who was blinded by lust. When the time came, he would be sucked dry by other women. Old Madame Jiang cursed the men of the Jiang family in her heart. Although Jiang Yingyao seemed to be very affectionate, he was still blinded by lust. The difference between these three men was whether they were blinded by lust for one woman or multiple women. They were essentially the same. The genes of the Jiang family were really powerful. Was the Jiang family going to be finished? All of them used their lower bodies as their heads. As long as he agreed to the marriage between these two people, Jiang Yingyao naturally wouldn't cause any trouble. But old Madame Jiang couldn't bear it. She hated Jian Luo and felt that Jian Luo was plotting something. She had endured for most of her life, enduring her husband fooling around outside. In the end, when she was old, she had to move an annoying person back home. She couldn't bear it. Old Madame Jiang went downstairs with her walking stick. Jian Luo quickly let go of Jiang Yingyao's hand. She didn't dare to be too intimate with Jiang Yingyao in front of old Madame Jiang. It would make old Madame Jiang unhappy. There was no other way. Jian Luo now had to listen to old Madame Jiang. Old Madame Jiang said to Jian Luo, Come here, I have something to say to you. Jiang Yingyao stood in front of Jian Luo and said directly, Grandma, if you have something to say, just say it in front of me. Old Madame Jiang was very unhappy. It's a conversation between women. Do you want to listen? Jiang Yingyao said directly, Why don't I listen? Grandma, don't tell me you want to give her a sum of money to send her away. Grandma, this is such an old trick. You've used this trick more than 10 years ago. Old Madame Jiang's old face blushed, but she kept a straight face. Do you think the Jiang family's money grows on trees? Do you think it's easy to give? Jiang Yingyao was relieved. This was to remind Jian Luo, lest she couldn't deal with such a situation calmly and feel humiliated. He reminded her that if old Madame Jiang did this again, it would be a bit ridiculous. Old Madame Jiang would definitely not do something like throwing money at people again. Jiang Yingyao had been a public official for so long. He had faced many vicious criminals, but he still had a way to deal with old Madame Jiang. Besides, even if old Madame Jiang really did this, Jian Luo was already mentally prepared. Jian Luo followed old Madame Jiang upstairs. Old Madame Jiang was old and a little tired going up and down the stairs. She would stop to rest halfway. Jian Luo hesitated for a moment and reached out to help old Madame Jiang. Old Madame Jiang glanced at her and reached out to press her hand. She was like an arrogant empress dowager, accepting Jian Luo's flattery. She was willing to serve others as a maid, why wouldn't she accept it? Jian Luo was a little flattered. She thought that old Madame Jiang would ignore her, but she didn't expect her to help her up. Was this an improvement? She was really petty. Old Madame Jiang rolled her eyes in her heart. She served others, flattered others, and looked proud as if it was a kindness. She was really a bitch. Of course, old Madame Jiang didn't treat Jian Luo well. It could even be regarded as contempt. Because she knew her place, seeing this woman still holding back her anger and flattering her, she must have some ulterior motive. Otherwise, why would she be bullied for no reason? As for her love for Jiang Yingyao, even if she loved him, she should have some brains. It was impossible for her to be so humble. At this moment, old Madame Jiang's mind thought a lot. Her children and grandchildren didn't live up to her expectations, so she could only put in more effort. Of course, Jian Luo didn't know that her simple action made old Madame Jiang's mind filled with all kinds of imagination. She did this and let herself be wronged for Jiang Yingyao, for the future of the two of them. Jian Luo seemed to be self-hypnotizing and was very touched. However, this kind of flattery was very unfamiliar and superficial. It let people know what she was thinking at a glance. After entering the study, Jian Luo carefully helped old Madame Jiang to sit down, and then she stood obediently. Old Madame Jiang pointed to the chair. You sit down too. Did she have to raise her head and talk to her? Her neck was tired. Jian Luo's face was full of gratitude. She sat down, but half of her butt was on the chair. Her back was straight, like an obedient primary school student. Old Madame Jiang rolled her eyes in her heart. What kind of person was this? She just let her sit down and she was grateful. Chapter 3646. Speaking of which, Jian Luo was a bit contradictory. People were all cheap and bullied the weak and feared the strong. For example, old Madame Jiang treated her badly and treated her like a servant, but she was still grateful. Fei Wen, the one who entrusted her, was so good to Jian Luo, but she only got an apology. Then she left with someone else with a clear conscience. Those who were good to her were cruel, but those who were bad to her, she was very forgiving. She was really drunk. Old Madame Jiang looked down on Jian Luo more and more. She was really petty, exuding a coy and petty aura. As the wife of the Jiang family, she could deal with all kinds of situations when she went out. Looking at her, what could she deal with? She looked for men when she had nothing to do. Men also had to work. If everything was waiting for men to deal with, then what was the point of men marrying women? It would increase their own burden. Men had responsibilities, and so did women. Everyone had their own duties and responsibilities. At this time, old Madame Jiang would rather Jiang Yingyao, her grandson, be like his grandfather and father, look for women outside than be so persistent with a woman. Old Madame Jiang looked at Jian Luo, making Jian Luo very nervous. She felt as if she was sitting on pins and needles, and her back was covered with dense fine sweat. After a while, old Madame Jiang said, I heard that you lived abroad with Fei Wen. Jian Luo nodded. Old Madame Jiang asked again, since you are engaged to him, why don't you get together naturally? Jian Luo was speechless. She really couldn't answer this question. Old Madame Jiang also did not expect her to give a damned answer. If she had to admit that she had taken advantage of him and then abandoned him, anyone with a bit of shame would not be able to say anything. But Jian Luo said, I love Jiang Yingyao. Old Madame Jiang. How shameless. Old Madame Jiang felt that this kind of thing was very distant and empty. Hearing Jian Luo's words, her heart was full of ridicule. Old Madame Jiang said, since you love him so much, are you willing to do anything for him as long as it's good for him? Jian Luo hesitated and nodded. Of course I want him to be well. But because of you, he can't be well. Your father is a murderer. The daughter-in-law of the Jiang family can't be a girl from such a family. And because of what happened to you before, it was the Jiang family who paid to block the news, so your name didn't appear. However, just because it wasn't widely publicized doesn't mean that this matter doesn't exist. You know it in your heart, and so does the Jiang family. Jian Luo's face became extremely pale. Old Madam's words meant that she did not agree to them being together. Jian Luo said with a pained expression, "But we really love each other." Old Madam, are you going to deny a person just because of their past? I also don't want to be hurt. I didn't mess around. I've always kept myself clean. Could it be that I was raped? Could it be that I'm worse than those girls who are willing to mess around? It was the same behavior. Should she be despised? Jian Luo felt that the world was gloomy. Her father was heartless and unscrupulous. He was a murderer and had even killed her own mother. And now he had encountered such a thing? All the unbearable and tragic things in the world had happened to her. Madame Jiang said, "Since none of us want to face these things, why don't you separate from him? Why do you have to face it head-on and make everyone feel pain? What was there that couldn't be separated? Wasn't it better to choose someone else?" Old Madame Jiang felt that not only was this woman's brain lacking, but she was also so despicable that she insisted on making herself and others feel uncomfortable. What was she trying to do? Was she plotting against the Jiang family? Jian Luo pleaded, "Old Madam, can you let us be together?" Old Madame Jiang shook her head. Do you think that I don't want you to be together simply because I don't like you? No, it's not. It's for his future. He became a public official. I let him be for a period of time. He's angry, but it's impossible for him not to inherit the Jiang family. But because of you, he may not be recognized by the board of directors. He will lose the right to inherit. Since you love him, you can see that he has nothing. Didn't you say that you can do anything for him? Can you do this? If you don't say or do, I doubt your feelings for him. Old Madame Jiang was attacking her with her own words. She didn't say that she loved him. She could do anything for his good. Why don't you do it? If you can't do it, it's not true love. It's fake and empty. Jian Luo was confused by old Madame Jiang's words, as if it was a big mistake for her not to break up with Jiang Yingyao. Being with Jiang Yingyao made her a bad person who harmed him. Can you do it? Old Madame Jiang looked at her. Jian Luo's mouth opened, but she couldn't say a word. She looked at Jian Luo in a daze. Old Madame Jiang said lightly, "Of course, as a reward, I will still give you some money." Jian Luo's face turned red. She was angry. She was insulted. "Old Madam, my feelings for him have nothing to do with money." Jian Luo raised her chin slightly and said stubbornly. Old Madame Jiang was speechless. She rolled her eyes and said directly, "I won't agree to the two of you getting married. Letting you leave him is to give you some humanitarian compensation. Logically speaking, it's fine if I don't give you money. As for whether you want the money or not, I won't let you enter the Jiang family." Why did she pretend to be righteous in front of her? Forget it. Jian Luo couldn't help but cry. "Old Madam, why can't you help us?" Old Madame Jiang snorted. "I can help you, but as long as you don't get married, you can do whatever you want. Jiang Yingyao's wife is not you. And I'll find a suitable wife for him." Jian Luo was petrified. What was the meaning of this? Was he going to make her an illegitimate mistress? It was really disgusting. Jian Luo couldn't help but say, "Old Madam, you're also a woman who was betrayed by your husband. How can you let him marry a woman he doesn't love and find another woman outside? We're all women. Why do we have to make things difficult for each other and make all three of us suffer?" She dragged another woman into the water. Of course, with Jian Luo's self-esteem, she definitely didn't want to be a mistress. If she was content to be a mistress who couldn't see the light of day, why did she bother to apologize to old Madam and curry favor with her? Wasn't it because she wanted to be together with Jiang Yingyao openly? Old Madame Jiang's face turned green. Her old face trembled. Obviously, Jian Luo had hit her sore spot. Besides, the pain of other women had nothing to do with her. As long as Jiang Yingyao's wife was a suitable wife for him, it was fine. Chapter 3648. Anyway, in the end, whoever compromised and who suffered had nothing to do with him. She was completely out of it. She watched this group of people fight. Whether they were tired, bored, angry, loved, or hated, It had nothing to do with her. The feeling of watching the fire burning across the river was wonderful. From Ning Shu's understanding of old Madame Jiang, this was a woman with a strong desire for control. Probably because of her husband's betrayal, she only trusted herself. Presumably, she would use all kinds of means to force Jiang Yingyao to compromise. Jiang Yingyao would probably have to go through both soft and hard methods. If Jiang Yingyao was a copper pea, he would naturally not compromise. But if it was a real pea, then it would definitely be soft. And just Jiang Yingyao being a copper pea was not enough. Jian Luo was also a copper pea. If one of the two compromised, this relationship would be in danger. It would not be able to last. Ning Shu shrugged and spread his hands. I'll quit. I wish you a happy life. Ning Shu was now busy with work, and the focus of his work was still overseas. The two decided to return to China because this country was their hometown. Even if something unpleasant happened here, they still wanted to come back. They wanted to come back and take a look. Their hometown was probably really ominous. So many things happened as soon as they came back. Besides, Ning Shu went to the Jiang family and poked old Madame Jiang's eyes. According to old Madame Jiang's personality, it would not be right if she did not do something to her. It was very likely that she would use the Jiang family's power and resources to trip her up. This was also a very normal thing. If she did not poke the old Madame's eyes, the old Madame would not care about her at all. Ning Shu did not care about this loss. His voice in the country was just a small matter. Previously, he planned to gradually transfer his business to the country if he wanted to settle down in the country. But looking at the situation, he should focus on overseas. All right, it was time to ask for Jian Luo's liquidated damages. If Jiang Yingyao really planned to leave the Jiang family and not rely on the Jiang family at all, it would be a burden for the two of them if they had to pay the liquidated damages. Jiang Yingyao had been a police officer all these years. Although his salary was not low, he did not make money from business. He did not know how much money he had accumulated. As for Jian Luo's money, after working for 2 or 3 years, she would at most have more than the average person, but it was impossible for her to have a lot more. When Jian Luo first joined the company, in order to prevent others from saying that she got in through the back door, she took the initiative to ask for the same salary as the other designers in the company. If her ideas and designs were adopted by the company, she would receive a bonus. Ning Shu didn't believe that he had a lot of money. If that was the case, then she would be the first to hit him when he was down. Money wasn't everything. You couldn't do anything without money. A single penny stumped a hero. Ning Shu asked his secretary to urge the lawyer to hurry up and get the liquidated damages back as soon as possible. The secretary looked at Ning Shu with pity. She felt that Ning Shu was in such a hurry because he wanted to see his fiancée and win her back. Ning Shu was speechless. Could this joke ever pass? She really, purely, just wanted to get some money from Jian Luo to make up for her previous losses. Ning Shu said to the secretary with a cold face, "Don't call her over. I don't want to see her. Just send the money over." Ning Shu looked at the secretary's subtle expression and said with a headache, "Don't try to be smart." Did she think that she would use this method just to see Jian Luo? She was thinking too much. The secretary nodded. "I see." But Ning Shu was still relieved too early. A few days later, when Jian Luo appeared in front of Ning Shu couldn't help but cover his head. Ning Shu was too lazy to argue with Jian Luo. He had argued too much before and now he had nothing to say to Jian Luo. Ning Shu said, "Put down the money and leave." Jian Luo asked Ning Shu with resentment, "When did you do it on purpose?" "That day." "Oh, you mean the day I met your parents. I just wanted you to know that what I told you before was true. It's not that easy between you and Jiang Yingyao. It turns out that I was right." Jian Luo was also mentally and physically exhausted. She was touched by what Jiang Yingyao had done for her, but she also knew that it was unfair to Jiang Yingyao if the stalemate continued. The two returned to the hotel and Jian Luo moved to Jiang Yingyao's house. This house was rented by Jiang Yingyao. Logically speaking, if Jiang Yingyao took the Jiang family's money, he could buy more than 10 houses like this in minutes without blinking an eye. But after Jiang Yingyao started working, he didn't take the Jiang family's money. This bachelor apartment was a little crowded with one more person. and Jiang Yingyao was usually very busy with work. When he was busy, he would directly rest at the station. The two of them tidied up the house properly and decorated it very warmly. At this time, she suddenly received a message from the company's lawyer, asking her to pay the liquidated damages or go to court. Jian Luo saw this amount. If it was normal times, she could pay it, but she braced herself to buy an expensive gift for Madame Jiang and spent a lot of money. At this time, another bill came, which really made Jian Luo feel a little strained. When Jiang Yingyao heard this news, he frowned. In a situation like this, it could be considered a big deal, but it could also be considered a small matter. In this case, if the other party insisted on pursuing her, he couldn't outlast the company. Moreover, he could just withdraw his resignation letter and say that he wouldn't resign. The problem would be solved. Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo both agreed that this was Ning Shu's way of keeping Jian Luo. Jiang Yingyao decided on the spot that he would give the money and use this money to end things completely. For Jiang Yingyao, it was good for his love rival to do this. It was best to use money to end things. He was afraid that the other party's attitude would be sticky and distant, which would make him unhappy. Since the other party was so ruthless, it was better for them to end things completely. And Jian Luo wouldn't have to feel guilty. Jian Luo didn't have much money. Jiang Yingyao gave all the money he had saved over the years to Jian Luo. He directly gave the passbook to Jian Luo and said that all the money in the house would be given to Jian Luo in the future. Jian Luo had a shy smile on her face. When she arrived at the company, Jian Luo thought that she would see a gloomy or decadent Fei Wen. But she didn't expect that he didn't seem to be affected at all. He was still the same as before. And when he looked at her, he had a faint smile on his face. The only thing missing was the words, "watching a show," written on his face. Jian Luo was angry. What was this? How could he be so sure that there was no future between her and Jiang Yingyao? She would definitely live a good life with Jiang Yingyao. The more others wanted to laugh at her, the better she would live. Jian Luo put the card on the table. The money is here. The password is your birthday. Ning Shu nodded and casually threw the card into the drawer. You can go now. Chapter 3649. The password should have been 1234567889. Why did he have to use a birthday number? What was he trying to do? Some of Jian Luo's actions made people speechless, and there was a vague hint. If it was the client, who knew how they would feel when they heard something like, "The password is your birthday," he would probably be hurt again. Jian Luo frowned when she saw Ning Shu deal with the bank cards so casually. She and Jiang Yingyao pooled the money together. But it was thrown away so casually and carelessly, which made Jian Luo's heart hurt. The money was Jiang Yingyao's salary. He had saved it. Jian Luo was very unhappy to be looked down upon. You do. Ning Shu looked at Jian Luo's expression and understood her thoughts. He said directly, "The money is mine now. I can do whatever I want with it." Did he want to carry it with him or put it on the altar and burn 3 incense sticks a day? Maybe Jian Luo thought that others should cherish her things. Especially a man like him who loved Jian Luo so much, he had to be careful. Jian Luo didn't know that she had such a secret thought, but Ning Shu pointed it out. She was so embarrassed that she turned and left. Ning Shu wrote, "Agree," on her resignation letter and stopped Jian Luo. Jian Luo turned around and asked coldly, "What else?" Ning Shu pushed the resignation letter. "This is yours. Take it away." Jian Luo walked back and saw the resignation letter. She was angry and regretful. She had spent so much money to buy such a piece of paper. No, to be precise, she had bought it. Jian Luo's values were a little shaky at this moment. Since you've paid, then it's settled. Also, don't leak the company's design ideas. Otherwise, there will be lawyers coming. Jian Luo took the resignation letter and took a deep breath. Don't worry. I won't do such a thing. Such a despicable thing, copying the company's design, was not something she would do. Moreover, Jian Luo was very confident in her talent. Many of the company's ideas were designed by her. There was no need for her to copy. When she went to work in other companies in the future, she must design her own unique style. Ning Shu nodded. As long as you understand. Jian Luo took the resignation letter and returned to the company. She raised the resignation letter in her hand. Her bright eyes shone through the paper with a yellow luster, and the handwriting on it was also dyed yellow. For some reason, he felt incomparably relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Furthermore, his relationship with Fei Wen could be severed. A new Jian Luo was born, and there was no need for her to be with another man with guilt. Ning Shu stood at the window of the office. Through the window, he saw Jian Luo standing at the door of the company. He snorted. The money and effort he had spent for more than 10 years could be understood by a mere few tens of thousands of yuan. Wasn't Jian Luo too optimistic? He felt that other people's money was not money, and other people's time was not time. It was probably because the psychological counseling was too successful that Jian Luo exposed her own scars and got together with Jiang Yingyao. Jiang Yingyao had witnessed Jian Luo's tragic times. When she was young, she was ostracized by others. Jiang Yingyao had witnessed it all and was the only one who had gotten close to her. Jiang Yingyao was also the one who had witnessed her being hurt by bad people. So many dark histories had been witnessed by Jiang Yingyao. In front of him, it was as if she had been stripped naked, and her most unbearable side was exposed. Didn't Jian Luo feel uncomfortable? Normal people would avoid people who knew about their dark histories. They would rather kill them to silence them, but Jian Luo took the initiative to get close to him. He couldn't figure it out. Jian Luo tore the resignation letter and threw it directly into the trash can by the roadside. She stepped lightly into the taxi. Next, Jian Luo would start to look for a job. The two of them had to work hard for this small family. When Jiang Yingyao heard that Jian Luo was going out to look for a job, he did not object and was very supportive. After being a police officer for so many years, he did not have the habits of those rich young masters. It was definitely a shameful thing to let his wife go out to work. Moreover, Jian Luo was lucky to have studied design. Her talent could not be wasted. Moreover, Jiang Yingyao felt that his working hours were very uncertain. It was very likely that he would have to work in the middle of the night. If there was a major case, he might not be home for a few days. If Jian Luo had her own job, she would not have to stay at home and feel lonely. With Jiang Yingyao's support, Jian Luo was very happy. Jiang Yingyao was definitely different from other men. Now the two of them had to worry about daily necessities. Jian Luo took her resume and started to interview with the company. Her resume was very beautiful, including the years of design and learning design from a certain master. There was also a design competition one. Looking at this resume, it made people feel that this was a rising star in the design world. However, she was rejected by the company's interviewer, saying that Miss Jian's ability was very good, but the company had already recruited the person they wanted. There were also interviewers with extraordinary backgrounds, saying that she was not a student of a certain master. At least, that master did not admit it. Jian Luo felt that she was insulted, but suddenly thought of what Fei Wen said. From today onwards, she could not use his connections and resources. However, it was a fact that she had learned from a master. Did she have to deny this? The interviewer's impression of Jian Luo was not very good. She used other people's names to swindle others. After interviewing for several companies, they were all like this. They did not want her for various reasons. After a few days of job hunting, Jian Luo was very tired, but she did not tell Jiang Yingyao. In Jian Luo's heart, she was a talented designer. There was no situation where she could not find a job. If she told Jiang Yingyao, it would be a very embarrassing thing. Although Jian Luo hid it very well, when Jiang Yingyao asked at the dinner table, Jian Luo said that she was still looking and was not very satisfied with the salary. Or she was not satisfied with the work environment. Jiang Yingyao was a police officer. The work of investigating a case required enough observation. When dealing with criminals, a slight expression could betray one's true feelings. Jian Luo's various actions told Jiang Yingyao that she was lying. She desperately wanted to change the topic. Jiang Yingyao put down his chopsticks and asked, "What's the matter? Did something happen?" Jian Luo looked at his gaze and could not go on. She told him what happened and finally leaned on the chair wearily. I think I'm very useless. Jian Luo had never encountered such a thing. Even when she was mocked when she was young, she was not so frustrated. That was because of her father. This time, it was indeed because of her own strength. The strength that she was proud of was questioned and ignored. Her self-esteem could not stand it. Chapter 3650. The interviewer's suspicion and ruthless rejection. Jian Luo was confused and angry. What was wrong with her? Why did she have to be rejected? Jian Luo felt that she had lost all her face and was in a bad mood. She was even more embarrassed in front of Jiang Yingyao. Jian Luo, who had been going smoothly, encountered a setback, which made her extremely angry. Jiang Yingyao frowned and said, "This matter is not only caused by Fei Wen, but also by the Jiang family." Fei Wen had just returned to the country and could not reach so far. Then it was the Jiang family who had interfered. When Jian Luo heard Jiang Yingyao's words, the resentment and anger in her heart dissipated a lot. It was not that she was not capable, but because of the Jiang family and Fei Wen. Jian Luo felt much better. Jiang Yingyao was not as optimistic as Jian Luo. In the country, the Jiang family had a great influence. If Jian Luo wanted to find a job, it would not be easy. Most companies would give face to the Jiang family, but not hiring a designer was nothing compared to offending the Jiang family. What's more, they did not even know Jian Luo. Even a fool would not offend the Jiang family for a stranger. Jiang Yingyao did not expect Madame Jiang to act so quickly. However, Jiang Yingyao would not show his worries in front of Jian Luo. He just said that she would definitely find a job. Jiang Yingyao returned to the Jiang family while he was free from work. Madame Jiang was sitting on the sofa, holding a walking stick. Her back was straight, and her face was serious and mean. Seeing that Jiang Yingyao had returned without Jian Luo, she smiled, but it was not a nice smile. Her drooping skin seemed to be lifted up by an invisible hand, which deeply explained what a fake smile meant. It gave people a bad feeling. Jiang Yingyao saw the smile on Madame Jiang's face and felt that it was the smile of a winner. Jiang Yingyao said directly, "Please don't do such a childish thing. Even if you do, I will not come back." The smile on Madame Jiang's face suddenly froze. That horrifying smile was frozen. Madame Jiang was a great beauty when she was young, but there was also a time when a beauty was past her prime. However, Madame Jiang was old, and her face was particularly fierce after her skin sagged. She was not as peaceful as some old ladies. Perhaps it was because he had endured too much when he was young and had accumulated too much unwillingness, resentment, and pain. These things had all been memorized by his skin, body, and muscles. Madame Jiang slowly restrained the expression on her face and said coldly, "So, you came back to send me a letter of challenge to express your unyielding might?" Jiang Yingyao said, "Grandma, don't you think it's boring to deal with a little girl?" Old Madame Jiang said, "She's not an ordinary little girl. She's someone who seduced you so much that you even abandoned the Jiang family. This has nothing to do with her. Besides, I never thought of inheriting the Jiang family. He didn't want such a rotten Jiang family at all." Old Madame Jiang was so angry that she almost had a stroke. "You don't want to inherit the Jiang family? Do you want to be a police officer for the rest of your life? Do you know how powerful the Jiang family is? That woman can't even find a job in the country, unless she goes abroad or works in an unknown company. But you have to know that it's easy to buy over a small company and get rid of her. If someone else inherits the Jiang family, you, the rightful heir, will be a bomb. Will they let you go? Can a police officer like you compete with a financial group? They can turn your life into a tragedy in an instant. Yes, you're noble. You don't like money, but you can't deny the power of money. Money moves people's hearts. Can you guarantee that those people won't do anything to you? If something happens to you that day, I won't be surprised at all, especially when you're doing such a dangerous thing. It's possible that you'll die in the line of duty." Jiang Yingyao groaned weakly. Why are these people so dirty? Old Madame Jiang's old face was full of fatigue, but she was still holding on. It made her look mean and domineering. She didn't give in at all and was aggressive. "Let's see if that woman can endure this. If she can't, she'll leave you." No, that woman should suffer for you. It was like this more than 10 years ago, and it's still like this more than 10 years later. You've only brought this woman pain. Don't you know it in your heart? Jiang Yingyao was very helpless. Grandma, do you have to do this? Old Madame Jiang nodded. Jiang Yingyao took a deep breath and used his firm back view to tell Old Madame Jiang that he wouldn't compromise. Old Madame Jiang had a headache and her mood was up and down. When she saw Jiang Yingyao come back alone, she was quite happy. But in the end he came back with harsh words. Old Madame Jiang was also angry, very angry. The consequence of being angry was that Jian Luo couldn't find a job. After submitting her resume, the company didn't even notify her for an interview. She didn't even need to go for an interview. She had no chance. Jian Luo was a little crazy. She felt that she was going to get moldy if she stayed at home every day. Moreover, without a job, the feeling of boredom and emptiness with nothing to do was very frightening. The family's money had been used to pay the penalty fee, and now Jian Luo had to worry about the family's expenses. How many years had it been? Jian Luo had never worried about the daily necessities like this. Usually, she didn't need to cook, but now she still had to cook. Even if she used a range hood, after cooking a meal, there would be bits of putty on her hair. It was greasy and very unpleasant. Moreover, when cooking, she couldn't wear clothes that were decent and good-looking but not resistant to dirt. Without a job, Jian Luo was really afraid that she would have to deal with the kitchen for the rest of her life. Jian Luo was so worried that she couldn't sleep at night. In the dead of the night, she couldn't help but think about her previous life. When she thought of her previous life, she couldn't help but think of Fei Wen. She couldn't help but sigh. Old Madame Jiang was really too cruel. But she was also Jiang Yingyao's relative. She couldn't complain about her dissatisfaction with Old Madame Jiang in front of him. Jian Luo was the kind of person who had a dull personality. She would keep everything in her heart. The more she thought about it, the more worried she became. Now Jian Luo didn't have a psychiatrist to counsel her, and no psychiatrist to listen to her. Jiang Yingyao saw this and was anxious in his heart. He had been thinking of ways to solve the predicament in front of him, but the Jiang family was getting tighter and tighter. What Jiang Yingyao couldn't stand the most was that old Madame Jiang had begun to interfere with his work. His boss even vaguely joked that he was going back to inherit the Jiang family. Don't forget everyone at that time. Jiang Yingyao argued that he wanted to be a policeman for the rest of his life, but no one believed him. Chapter 3651. Jiang Yingyao was going crazy. Why did everyone tell him not to forget his old colleagues? On the phone. It was as if he was leaving the police station. Jiang Yingyao didn't want to lose his job. Jian Luo hadn't found a job yet. If he didn't have a job, he might have to sleep on the street. Besides, he liked this job very much and had never thought of quitting. Jiang Yingyao asked, "Why do you think I will go back to inherit the family property?" C said, "The Jiang family has sent someone to say that they will resign on your behalf." I agreed. Jiang Yingyao felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His vision turned black. What the hell was this? Had he lost his job without him knowing? Besides, he didn't even know that the Jiang family had made the decision to resign on his behalf. He was speechless. Jiang Yingyao's lungs were about to explode. He couldn't help but complain, "Why didn't you inform me? This is my job. I should resign on my own." The Jiang family's overreaching made Jiang Yingyao even more determined to get rid of the Jiang family's control. His role was nothing more than to inherit the Jiang family. He was a descendant of the Jiang family and had the blood of the Jiang family. His own wishes and personality didn't matter at all. The Jiang family could control him at will and didn't have to worry about him. However, he was a human being with his own emotions, his own work, and his own loved ones. He was born as a human being, but he didn't even have these basic things. C was a little embarrassed and said, "The Jiang family has added a lot of equipment and various facilities to the bureau over the years. Moreover, the Jiang family was donating in a charitable manner. They had donated a lot of advanced things that were indeed needed. These things were used for work. There was no shady deal." Jiang Yingyao wiped his face. Even if he was doing such a job, the Jiang family was always there to remind him of their existence. They always reminded him that he was a member of the Jiang family. Jiang Yingyao felt very tired. He wiped his face and said, "Boss, I don't want to resign. It's not my resignation. No one else has the right to decide for me." "I understand the logic, but I agree," C said helplessly. Jiang Yingyao was speechless. Now he really wanted to grab C's throat and beat him up. Jiang Yingyao paused and clenched his fist dispiritedly. His entire body was filled with the word powerlessness. C was also helpless. He naturally cherished this hard-working subordinate. Moreover, it was Madame Jiang who personally came to resign for Jiang Yingyao. "You're going home to inherit the Jiang family. Why does it sound like you're going to hell?" He really couldn't understand the thoughts of the rich. It would be great if he could go back and inherit the Jiang family. He would be rich and would not need to be a small police officer. He would have to deal with the wind and rain, and it would be very dangerous. Nowadays, criminals were so arrogant that they dared to provoke the police even in the interrogation room. They couldn't wait for the police to beat them up and then shout that the police beat them up. In short, work was tough. After inheriting the Jiang family, she could have meetings in a spotless studio. She did not need to stay in the car for a few days without taking a shower or eating well. It was still fine in winter, but if it was summer, it would be unbearable. In short, C couldn't understand Jiang Yingyao. This was probably the true portrayal of having to go back and inherit hundreds of millions of assets if one did not work hard. Jiang Yingyao was very dispirited. He hadn't even solved Jian Luo's problem and now his own problem had come. Grandma was really ruthless. Even so, he still didn't plan to go back to the Jiang family. The more it was like this, the more cold-hearted he was and the more he wanted to fight against old Madame Jiang. In this situation, the more they fought, the more unwilling they were to lower their heads. They held their breath in their hearts. This situation was what Ning Shu liked to see. Although Ning Shu didn't hang around in front of Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo, he still had spies lingering around them. He knew that old Madame Jiang had actually taken the initiative to fire Jiang Yingyao. This was probably stepping on Jiang Yingyao's reverse scale. Although Jiang Yingyao was not very honest emotionally, he was absolutely serious about his work and was a good police officer. He was also conscientious in his work. Obviously, he loved this job. Now that he didn't even have this job, Jiang Yingyao would probably die. Old Madame Jiang was used to being domineering. She was obviously a person who would not lower her head. Jiang Yingyao had lost his job and was holding his anger in. There would be a good show to watch. Jian Luo would definitely be affected by the aftermath of this battle between the grandfather and the grandson. They were still relatives, but what about Jian Luo? Ning Shu wanted the task to end quickly so that he could go back and teach Fatian. However, he still had to wait for the task to be completed, and he had to complete the task beautifully before he could leave. This time, she basically wouldn't do anything. She would just watch the fire burn across the river. Since she didn't need to do anything, it didn't matter if she waited a little longer. She was very happy. No matter what kind of relationship, friends, family, lovers, these relationships and people had to be managed. If they weren't managed, they would soon be wiped out. It was easier to destroy and build. Old Madame Jiang was like a tsunami or a tornado. Her destructive power was extremely great. Wherever she went, there would be a mess. Let's see how Jian Luo and Jiang Yingyao would deal with it. Ning Shu's company's business had been transferred overseas. He left a small company in the country as a branch company. The focus was still on the overseas stronghold. Jiang Yingyao dragged his tired body back home. After returning, he hugged Jian Luo tightly and said in a muffled voice, "Jian Luo, I only have you. Only you." Jian Luo felt Jiang Yingyao's sad and powerless emotions. She also hugged him and let him lean his head in her arms. She patted him gently and comforted him silently. Jiang Yingyao was weak for a while, then he recovered his usual calm appearance and told her everything. Jian Luo frowned more and more. Her face was full of worry. The Jiang family was really ruthless. They didn't even let go of their own grandson. They were so ruthless even to their own family, let alone an outsider like her. Jian Luo was very worried. If this continued, they would really have to sleep on the street. She felt very insecure and panicked. In the past, she never needed to worry about these things. If she needed anything, she only needed to say a word and there would be someone to prepare it. When she wanted to eat, someone would prepare the meal and send it to her. Unlike now, she had to buy vegetables and wash them. It was very troublesome to prepare a meal. Every time she stepped on the dirty water of the market, Jian Luo's heart would inevitably be frightened. She was frightened that she would drown in such a life for the rest of her life. The things she learned, the things she cared about, the things she was proud of, all turned into nothing. It was like a dream. Only when she picked up a pen and paper and drew a smooth line on it did she feel that the previous days were not a dream. /BK Chapter 3652. Of course, Jian Luo was just reminiscing about such days and never thought of leaving Jiang Yingyao. What's more, Jiang Yingyao had become like this because of her. She couldn't let go of Jiang Yingyao. Jian Luo took a colored pencil and drew on the snow-white paper, making a rustling sound. As she drew, Jian Luo's tears fell on the paper, wetting it. Jiang Yingyao loved his job, and so did Jian Luo. During this period of time without work, she didn't have to hold a pen. Her hands were no longer her own. Nothing could make up for the blank emptiness in her heart. Without a job, without feelings, without money, there was no way to survive. Eating, drinking, going to the toilet, which one didn't need money? Now that she was hugging Jiang Yingyao and hearing that he had lost his job, she understood Jiang Yingyao's feelings very well. She was a little afraid that Jiang Yingyao would compromise, so she said in a trembling voice, "Why don't you go back to the Jiang family?" After she finished speaking, she covered her face and tears seeped through her fingers. Jiang Yingyao shook his head firmly. "I won't go back. They quit my job without permission. In their eyes, I'm just a tool to inherit the Jiang family, a tool to prevent the Jiang family from falling into the hands of others." And he couldn't let this tool be covered in dust. When the kidnapping happened, they sent Jian Luo far away, completely ignoring his feelings. They were afraid that he would be involved with Jian Luo. He didn't want to be a tool. Even if he was just a small policeman, he had to live like a person and earn money to support himself. Jian Luo's floating heart calmed down a little. In addition to this matter, Jiang Yingyao naturally had to negotiate with the Jiang family and ask them why they quit his job for him. In this case, Jian Luo wouldn't go with him. After all, no matter how stupid she was, she knew that Madame Jiang didn't like her. If she went, the situation would become more complicated. And Jiang Yingyao didn't want Jian Luo to face the Jiang family. It was better for him to go by himself. Jian Luo, who was alone at home, wrote and drew every day. She didn't know where to go when she went out. She felt that there was no place for her in this big world. She had no value at all. She was at a loss and had no goals. She was so decadent that she seemed to have been abandoned by the whole world. Without winning the Jiang family, she and Jiang Yingyao were in this state. On the other hand, the Jiang family was a colossus, and the two of them were as weak as ants. They were like mantises trying to stop a chariot. Dreaming at home, Jian Luo felt uncomfortable. She went out for a walk and unknowingly walked to Ning Shu's company. Only when he stood at the entrance of the company did he realize where he was. In the past, he had also worked here, so he didn't think much of it. Now that he thought about it, working here was a very happy thing. At this moment, Fei Wen came out with his secretary. He was in high spirits. Wearing a striped suit, he looked like a fashion model. He raised his head and puffed out his chest. His shiny black leather shoes made friction sounds as he walked. His thick hair was combed to the back, revealing his full and fair forehead. His well-shaped hairline made him look even more handsome. This was a successful man. His aura and temperament were incomparable. He walked towards the car with his long legs. Jian Luo felt her heart thumping loudly. She could not move her feet. She was afraid that he would discover her, but she was also afraid that he would not discover her. Seeing the man who had lived with her for more than 10 years again, Jian Luo's heart was filled with bitterness and grievance. It was as if she had seen her family. She could not help but feel wronged and wanted to cry. Ning Shu turned to look at Jian Luo. He had noticed Jian Luo a long time ago. She was standing at the entrance of the company. He did not know what she was going to do. She looked at him with red eyes and tightly pursed lips. It was as if she was going to cry in the next second. Ning Shu, to be honest, seeing Jian Luo so miserable now, he wanted to laugh in his heart. Since you chose to go with Jiang Yingyao, why are you crying now? Ning Shu walked over to her. Jian Luo was so nervous that she felt as if her heart was being squeezed. She was a little out of breath. She stared blankly at him approaching, her eyes sour. As soon as he got closer, she smelled his scent. She had smelled this scent for more than 10 years. It was an elegant and warm scent that warmed her heart. Even if Jian Luo loved Jiang Yingyao now, her body had already gotten used to this scent and temperature. She instinctively relaxed. She had been used to this person for more than 10 years. Whether it was mentally or physically, she was very dependent on this person. Jian Luo's eyes became even more sour. Her vision became blurred. She could not hold back her tears and they flowed down. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at her. He asked, "Why are you looking for me?" Jian Luo was like a child. She wiped her tears on her face with both hands. She shook her head like a rattle drum. She could not speak as if there was cotton in her throat. "If there's nothing else, I'm leaving." Ning Shu turned and left. Jian Luo's body moved faster than her brain. She reached out and grabbed Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu suddenly felt that his hand was sticky. Jian Luo wiped her tears with her hand. Who knew if she wiped her nose? Ning Shu quickly pulled his hand out and wiped his hand with a handkerchief from his pocket. Really? He did not love Jian Luo. He did not think that Jian Luo's fart was fragrant. It was disgusting to see tears and snot. Jian Luo was stunned for a moment. She withdrew her hand embarrassedly and suppressed the grievance in her heart. For so many years, even if it was not love, it was still family. Seeing Fei Wen was like returning home. Ning Shu casually threw the handkerchief into the trash can by the roadside, just like how Jian Luo tore her resignation letter into pieces and threw it into the trash can. Jian Luo's heart twitched. She felt wronged and resentful. Her voice was nasal. "I just walked here." Ning Shu nodded and asked, "When are you getting married?" "We were together before." "Since you are married, I should give you my blessings and give you a gift." Ning Shu said very calmly. He was so calm that Jian Luo did not hear a trace of dissatisfaction or unwillingness in his voice. Did he really let go? Jian Luo even suspected that Fei Wen's feelings for her for so many years were fake if he let go so easily. Jian Luo's mood was actually very contradictory. If Fei Wen refused to give up, she would be very distressed and guilty. But Fei Wen let go so easily, which made Jian Luo feel very uncomfortable. Jian Luo was the one who was unreconciled. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Do you really think that I am your father? If you are wronged outside, come to me. I will forgive you unconditionally and comfort you. When you are in a good mood, you will run away. How shameless are you? Who wants to be your father? /BK. Chapter 3653. Ning Shu knew that Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo were not having a good time now. Jiang Yingyao's life was not easy, but Jian Luo seemed to have a spare tire like a family member. But this spare tire did not want to play with him now. Mom said not to play with idiots. Ning Shu said to Jian Luo, "Don't come to me in the future. You've already left, but you still come to me like this, to see me, and to do such an ambiguous thing. It's not fair to me or Jiang Yingyao." Jian Luo was like the females in the animal world, sitting on the fence and planning to choose one. The competition for a spouse was so cruel. It was normal to want to use resources from both sides. He did not know if Jiang Yingyao knew that Jian Luo had come to this place. Jiang Yingyao lost his job for Jian Luo and did not go back to the Jiang family. Jian Luo shook her head. "I'm not like this." She had never thought of doing anything intimate. She had hugged or even kissed Fei Wen. How could that be considered intimate? The current Fei Wen gave Jian Luo the feeling of indifference and indifference. It was too different from the Fei Wen of the past. He could control his emotions freely and said that he did not love her. He was very heartless. Even if Jian Luo chose another man, She could not completely let go of her heart. There were too many things to remember in the past 10 years. The two of them depended on each other. How could they completely break up? But he was so heartless. Jian Luo was so wrong that she almost cried. She was not afraid of being favored. Jian Luo thought that she had some weight in his heart and used all kinds of tests to measure this weight. But the result was too disappointing. He was too angry, so he was so cold to her. Jian Luo apologized honestly. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause you so much harm." Ning Shu was confused. "Why are you saying this?" "I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't mean it." "What's the meaning of these words? Are you going back to my side?" Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked. Jian Luo's eyebrows were full of struggle. Ning Shu sneered in his heart. Her hesitation meant that her heart was wavering. If she was not wavering, he should have rejected her decisively. "So what if you're hesitating? So what if you're struggling? What do you think in your heart have to do with me?" It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. Jian Luo's quality of life was probably very different from before. In the past, Jian Luo was a truly melancholic girl who had nothing to worry about. A melancholy woman who had money and leisure. Now that Jian Luo did not have a job, her value was not reflected. "When I see that you're not doing well, I feel like a sunny day." Ning Shu felt that the mission was almost complete. If Jian Luo wavered, no matter how determined Jiang Yingyao was, it was useless. Jian Luo felt uncomfortable being stared at by Ning Shu's penetrating gaze. Especially the other party's knowing gaze, it made her even more uncomfortable. Jian Luo probably didn't expect Fei Wen to treat her so coldly when she came back, and he didn't even soften. She knew that Fei Wen was angry, but she didn't expect him to be so cold, without the warmth and comfort she had expected. She couldn't stop feeling wronged. Even though he knew that he had no right to feel aggrieved, he couldn't control his emotions. He really couldn't control it. Jian Luo's voice was nasal. "Sorry for bothering you. Goodbye." Ning Shu nodded. "Yes, don't come to me if you don't have anything. There's nothing between us. If you keep coming here, people will misunderstand and affect me looking for a girlfriend." Jian Luo tried to maintain her composure and said, "Congratulations on starting a new life. Have you found?" Her tongue spun. "A girlfriend?" Ning Shu, "Of course I will find one." There were many men and women in the world. No one could stop the earth from spinning after leaving someone. Of course, it was very painful to part with someone, so there were so many people who did not hesitate to commit suicide for love. Jian Luo's heart was filled with anger. This change was too fast. He said he would find a girlfriend, but he walked out too quickly. Was he still angry and deliberately said such words to anger her? Jian Luo still wanted to say something, but Ning Shu turned around and got into the car. He was too lazy to talk to Jian Luo. "Jian Luo." The secretary glanced at Jian Luo, who was standing on the side of the road, and said to Ning Shu, "I think Miss Jian is regretting it." Ning Shu, "What does it have to do with me if she regrets it?" She came to ask for warmth, but when she was warm, she kicked her away. Perhaps it wasn't that painful anymore, or perhaps it wasn't that unbearable anymore, or perhaps the matter had been resolved and the weather outside had warmed up. They would leave the warm nest and start running around, foraging for food, mating and mating. Her nest was a temporary transition for her. The secretary's face said, "You're so stubborn." How much did the client love Jian Luo that he gave the people around him such an illusion that Fei Wen could not leave Jian Luo? Ning Shu laughed in his heart. "I'm so stubborn. I'm always so stubborn." Jian Luo originally came out for a walk, but now her heart was in a mess. Her mood was not good at all, but gloomier. The weather was originally bright and sunny, but Jian Luo's mood was not good at all. Her heart was always filled with anger. Even her heart was a little painful, and the world she saw was turning black and white. Jian Luo knew that she was under too much pressure recently, and there was no way to relieve it. In the past, she had a psychiatrist, but now, not to mention a psychiatrist, even eating, drinking, and sleeping was a problem. Previously, she spent a lot of money to buy gifts for Mrs. Jiang, and now she did not have a job. Now, Jiang Yingyao also did not have a job. The rent was going to be a problem. Jian Luo did not want to worry about these problems at all. She felt that a lot of beautiful things were suddenly broken. The difference between what he had dreamed of and what he had expected was too great. This was also the root cause of Jian Luo's pain. The difference between her dream and reality was too big. Originally, being with the person she loved was a very happy thing, but there were too many bitterness mixed in, making the taste of happiness a little less. She could not even taste it. Jian Luo originally thought that she was cut off from Fei Wen, who was like a family member for more than 10 years, both physically and mentally. She did not expect to see bodyguards in black suits and black sunglasses blocking the house when she returned home. There were several bodyguards standing outside the door. Jian Luo suddenly had a bad feeling and wanted to enter the house, but she was stopped by the bodyguards. Jian Luo could not help but shout into the house, "Jiang Yingyao, are you back?" Jiang Yingyao heard Jian Luo's voice and walked out. Behind him was a bodyguard carrying a box, which was obviously Jiang Yingyao's luggage. Jian Luo looked like she was struck by lightning. She looked at Jiang Yingyao in a daze, and tears came out of her eyes. She asked with difficulty, "Are you going back to the Jiang family, /BK?" Chapter 3654. Did he give up? They had agreed to be together. If Jiang Yingyao returned to the Jiang family, it meant that he had given up on her. On the phone, between the Jiang family and her, Jiang Yingyao chose the Jiang family. Jian Luo's vision turned black. She was stunned. She never thought that Jiang Yingyao would give up on her. Didn't they love each other? But Jian Luo almost couldn't hold it anymore. The two men in her life were like grass to her. Jiang Yingyao felt tears stinging his eyes, but he was a man. He held it back. He walked over and hugged Jian Luo. "Trust me." Jian Luo let him hug her. "How can I trust you? You're going back to the Jiang family. Are you going to break up with me?" "No, I don't want to break up with you." Jian Luo's heart was stabbed. "If you don't break up with me, I'll always be a shameful woman?" Jian Luo didn't forget what Madame Jiang said. Madame Jiang didn't mind her being a shameful mistress, but she couldn't be the madam of the Jiang family. She didn't have a proper status, and it was still a threesome. How could Jian Luo bear it? Jiang Yao hurriedly explained, "It's not like that. I will definitely marry you. You are my wife. We can't do this with the Jiang family. If I have the controlling stake in the Jiang family, I want to marry you." Jiang Yingyao thought of what Grandma said. "Since you want to marry Jian Luo so much, then control the Jiang family. Suppress the board of directors so that they can't raise their heads and send their daughters to you. Then you can marry whoever you want. Instead of hiding, it's better to control your own power and money. You won't be at the mercy of others. Do you know why you're in such a difficult situation now? Because you're the fish on the chopping board. Everyone can manipulate you without any room to retaliate. And I'm only using the tip of the iceberg of the Jiang family's power. You can't hold on anymore. Your struggle and resistance are weak and useless. If you control the Jiang family, Grandma won't have any opinions on who you marry." Jiang Yingyao certainly knew that this was a trap. He could marry Jian Luo, but he would follow Grandma's wishes and control the Jiang family. His only advantage was that he was the heir of the Jiang family. Grandma needed to use his identity. He knew about the Jiang family situation. Even though his grandmother was in charge of the Jiang family, his grandfather had passed away, and his father, who was addicted to wine and women, had done nothing. As a result, the Jiang family's control over the entire consortium became weaker and weaker. If it weren't for the majority of the shares in their hands, the management rights would have been taken away by others. There were many people who were eyeing them covetously. However, he had to pick this trap. Jian Luo did not understand Jiang Yingyao's difficulties. She only knew that Jiang Yingyao was going back to the Jiang family. Then he would marry the woman arranged by old Madame Jiang. As a result, she didn't believe Jiang Yingyao at all. Even after Jiang Yingyao told her the whole story, Jian Luo asked expressionlessly, "You want to control the Jiang family, so you need power and support, right?" The most effective way to win people over is through marriage. What was the difference? There was no difference at all. First, she was provoked by Ning Shu, and then she was attacked by Jiang Yingyao. Jian Luo was already numb and could even ask Jiang Yingyao calmly. Jiang Yingyao immediately said, "Don't worry about that. Grandma has promised that she won't let me get married." His condition was that he couldn't marry a strange woman during this period. And old Madame Jiang's condition was that Jiang Yingyao couldn't marry Jian Luo before he completely controlled the Jiang family. In short, both sides used Jian Luo as a bargaining chip. Jian Luo chuckled, opened her mouth and said in a hoarse voice, "You can go." Jiang Yingyao hugged her tightly. "You must wait for me, wait for me." Jian Luo didn't speak, and her eyes were dim. The bodyguard next to him reminded, "Young master, it's time to go. Old madam is waiting at home." There were so many people today because they wanted to bring Jiang Yingyao home safely. They didn't dare to underestimate the young master. After all, he was a very skilled police officer and had a strong awareness of anti-tracking. If he slipped away, they wouldn't be able to find him. Jiang Yingyao let go of Jian Luo and planted a gentle kiss on her smooth forehead. "Wait for me." As soon as Jiang Yingyao left, Jian Luo slid down the wall and sat on the ground weakly. She cried softly and finally burst into heart-wrenching tears. She got up from the ground and watched the limousine drive away from the window. In the end, it turned into a small black dot and disappeared in the traffic. Ning Shu was enjoying his lunch when he received a call from the hospital. It was a nurse who called to ask if he knew the patient. She said that the patient had committed suicide by cutting her wrists and was now in a coma. She asked Ning Shu to go to the hospital. Ning Shu? Patient? Jian Luo? Suicide? She said a few words. Jian Luo wouldn't be so heartbroken that she would commit suicide. She still had Jiang Yingyao. Something must have happened between Jiang Yingyao and Jian Luo couldn't take it. At this time, the nurse should be calling Jiang Yingyao, not her. The nurse said that since she knew the patient and came to the hospital, the patient's condition was very bad. Because Fei Wen's name was first, the nurse looked through Jian Luo's phone and naturally called Fei Wen. Ning Shu directly replied that he didn't know and that she should call someone else. He wasn't Jian Luo's guardian. Secondly, he had broken up with Jian Luo. Thirdly, why should she run over when Jian Luo was in trouble? Should she send her warmth? When the nurse heard Ning Shu's words, she guessed that it wasn't a family member, so she looked through her phone and called someone else. Patients without family members were the most annoying. If there was a problem without a family member's signature, the hospital would be unlucky. In the end, she called Ning Shu again. He either turned off his phone or said that he didn't know him. The nurse was also tired. Ning Shu didn't care. He went to the hospital, paid the money, and put away the receipt. When the time came, he would ask Jian Luo for medical expenses. Why should he pay for her medical expenses for no reason? Before Jian Luo woke up, Ning Shu left. She was not a heating pad that emitted her own heat to warm others. He asked about the situation and the nurse said that it was an emergency call from a neighbor. When Jiang Yingyao left, he attracted a lot of attention. After all, it was a stretch limousine and a long line of bodyguards. It was normal for people to watch. The neighbor witnessed everything that happened and heard the girl next door crying and screaming. He was scared and had goosebumps. After a while, there was no sound. Feeling that something was wrong, he opened the door. The door was not locked. He saw the woman lying on the ground in the living room. Her wrist was bleeding, and the fruit knife scattered on the side was stained with blood. The flesh of the wound was turned up. It was too scary. She was already unconscious. The neighbor hurriedly called the emergency number, but did not dare to touch Jian Luo at all. He was afraid that he would be accused of murder. Jian Luo was sent to the hospital. She had lost too much blood and her vital signs were not obvious, but she was still rescued and had not woken up. He didn't know what the sequelae were. /BK Chapter 3655. Ning Shu felt that Jian Luo's suicide was reasonable. She had suffered a lot of setbacks these days. Something must have happened between her and Jiang Yingyao. She could not see any hope from Jiang Yingyao, so she committed suicide. Ning Shu made a phone call and asked the person on the other end to investigate. This matter was found out after a little investigation. When Jiang Yingyao left, it was with great fanfare, with a row of bodyguards. Ning Shu received a reply and could not help but be surprised. Jiang Yingyao gave up and returned to the Jiang family. This was not Jiang Yingyao's usual behavior. There was no doubt that they loved each other deeply. However, this had nothing to do with Ning Shu. Jiang Yingyao's return would not affect him, but it would hurt Jian Luo greatly. No wonder she could commit suicide. Jian Luo had some psychological problems. She had encountered too many things and she instinctively suppressed it. There used to be a psychiatrist, but not anymore. The client could tolerate Jian Luo and asked a psychiatrist to guide her. Now that Jian Luo was with Jiang Yingyao, even if there was a psychiatrist, Jian Luo would not see him. Both of them tried their best to avoid this matter, to avoid embarrassment and to avoid pain. Until now, Jiang Yingyao had not come. Was it because he was not informed or because he was heartless? Ning Shu asked the nurse, "Did you inform Jiang Yingyao? He is the patient's boyfriend." Jian Luo should have Jiang Yingyao's phone number. The nurse said bitterly, "We called, but the other party did not pick up and hung up. He was probably busy with something and it was not a familiar phone number, so he hung up." However, if Jian Luo woke up alone, she would be sad again. The nurse asked Ning Shu if he wanted to accompany the patient. Ning Shu refused directly, saying that he had nothing to do with the patient and that it was better to inform Jiang Yingyao. Why did she do Jiang Yingyao's work? If she did it, what would Jiang Yingyao do? She did not remember anyone else but Jiang Yingyao. Ning Shu suspected that for so many years, the client was just taking care of Jian Luo on behalf of Jiang Yingyao so that Jian Luo would not suffer. But what? Did she not need money to eat, drink, and defecate? Therefore, she was determined not to do things like accompany the patient in bed. It was not like she was his mother or father. It was probably because Ning Shu had rejected her so firmly that the nurse felt that there was really nothing between the two of them. The nurse took Jian Luo's phone and called Jiang Yingyao, but he didn't pick up. The nurse felt helpless. At this time, the nurse came out of the ward and ran into the office to look for the doctor. The doctor hurried to the ward to check if the patient had any sequelae. Patients who had lost too much blood like this were prone to lack of oxygen to the brain, which would cause serious consequences to the brain. Ning Shu also went to take a look. Jian Luo woke up and stared at the ceiling. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes into her hair. The doctor beside the bed was extremely anxious. She was in a daze with her eyes staring blankly and only knew how to cry. Did she really hurt her brain? Ning Shu knew that Jian Luo was unable to extricate herself from her grief and had no time to pay attention to others. "Nothing is more important than your own sorrow, doctor." The doctors were speechless. Was he deaf? The doctor asked, "Are his family members here yet? Let's do a brain scan." The nurse shook her head. "No, but someone came to the hospital, but he's not familiar with the patient." "It doesn't matter if he's familiar with her or not. I want him to take care of her." The doctor had no choice. The nurse dragged Ning Shu directly to the ward and asked Ning Shu to send Jian Luo for a checkup. She was in a daze. She might be a fool. Ning Shu was speechless. Why did she have to do these things? She really couldn't just watch. Ning Shu reached out and patted Jian Luo's face. "Come back to your senses." The doctor and nurse were speechless. Jian Luo seemed to have really come back to her senses. She slowly turned her head and looked at Ning Shu. Tears flowed down her face. She said with difficulty, "Why am I not dead?" Ning Shu said to the doctor and nurse, "Your brain is very clear. There's no need for a brain scan." Although he felt a little speechless, it was good that the patient had a reaction. The patient woke up. The doctor asked Jian Luo to quickly inform her family to come and take care of her. Jian Luo didn't say anything. She just looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. "What kind of family do you think I am?" Therefore, she was Jian Luo's family, and Jiang Yingyao was Jian Luo's lover. At this time, it should be her family taking care of Jian Luo, not her lover. "Keep on dreaming." Ning Shu said directly, "I'm busy with work. Besides, we have nothing to do with each other anymore." Jian Luo looked at Ning Shu numbly. She closed her eyes to hide the sadness in them and said, Jiang Yingyao doesn't want me anymore. You don't want me anymore? Ning Shu said, I can't afford it. Jian Luo's heart stopped. She felt that she was the only one left in the world. Loneliness seeped into her bones. Ning Shu left the hospital and did what he needed to do. When he needed someone to serve him, he thought of her. He went to find Jiang Yingyao. The next day, Ning Shu attended a business summit. He saw Jiang Yingyao at the summit. Jiang Yingyao was wearing a neat suit. His face was cold and his whole body was covered with coldness. Unlike the lively police officer before, Jiang Yingyao now looked very domineering. When Jiang Yingyao saw Ning Shu, he could even talk to Ning Shu calmly about some business matters. It didn't seem like they were love rivals at all. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. He had entered the state of inheritance so quickly. He didn't know if Jiang Yingyao knew that Jian Luo was lying in the hospital now. He probably didn't know. If he knew, according to Jiang Yingyao's personality, he would stay by Jian Luo's side instead of attending the business summit. Ning Shu wondered if he should tell Jiang Yingyao that the person he loved had committed suicide. Did Jian Luo not inform Jiang Yingyao yet? This was completely in line with Jian Luo's personality. She would rather endure it and not speak, or take the initiative to wait for others to care about her. Since Jian Luo was willing to suffer, she naturally wouldn't be nosy enough to tell Jiang Yingyao about Jian Luo. She just looked at Jiang Yingyao meaningfully. Jiang Yingyao? Jiang Yingyao still knew about Jian Luo, but that was 2 or 3 days later. Jiang Yingyao called Jian Luo but couldn't get through. He went to the apartment. When he opened the door, he found blood in the room. Jiang Yingyao immediately realized that something was wrong. Jian Luo might have committed suicide and didn't believe him. He asked the neighbor what happened and went to the hospital. Jian Luo's skin was so pale that it was almost transparent. She looked like she could disappear at any time, which terrified Jiang Yingyao. Jian Luo wanted to cry when she saw Jiang Yingyao, but she held back her tears. Jiang Yingyao was distressed and anxious. Why don't you believe me? I told you, I returned to the Jiang family for our future. What was she doing? Jiang Yingyao was very tired. /BK, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.